Morning, board meeting, City Hall, Commission Chamber, Wednesday, October 15th, 2025. It is now 6:02 PM. Like a roll call and recording of the absences.
Dan Waleski,
Present.
Hank Paulsky, Dave Matthews,
Here.
Juan Cotton,
Here.
Mark Hum.
Here.
You have a forum.
Okay. So, I'd like to stand up for the pledge of allegiance, please.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, do we have any additions, deletions, or reordering and approval of the agenda?
We do not have any additions, deletions, or reorderings.
Okay, so to approve the agenda,
Motion to approve.
second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, agenda's approved. So the cases or the case, the swearing in of the staff and applicants. If you are going to speak today, you will need to be sworn in at this moment.
So only those persons who are affected parties, the general public does not need to swear in. Attorneys and affected parties only, and staff members.
Affected parties on Zoom, please unmute and turn on your camera.
But we'll tend to that later. Please raise your right hand. Do you swear and affirm the testimony you give will be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? If so, say yes. Thank you.
Okay, board disclosure, does anybody from the board have any connection or contact? No? No. Okay, nothing from the board. All right, new business, it's ordinance 2025-16, PZB 25-01300002, privately initiated zoning map amendment to rezone 826 Sunset Drive from the unincorporated Palm Beach County designated zoning district to a City of Lake Worth Beach zoning district. Single family and two family residential, SFTF 14, and then the property control number would be 384344290100400240. So, if the staff would like to enlighten us some of these things. I realize that there are a lot of people here and there's affected parties and there's people on Zoom. For the public, there will be a 2-minute presentation, and for the affected parties, there would be a 5-minute presentation per. I guess if you're married or from the same address, that would count as one. Okay, so the board would have to vote on this?
That's the.
Yeah, we have to vote on this.
I don't think we have to vote on that. It's already established. That's just what it is.
I was told by the attorney we have to vote on it.
It says 10 minutes as an affected party.
Yes.
Why do you get to change the rules?
Because we changed the rules. I mean, this is, I defer to our attorney.
It's a maximum of 10 minutes. And in light of the fact that we have 11 affected parties and a number of interested parties, in the interest of time, the decision was made to go with 5 minutes per affected parties if the board agrees with that.
Yes.
That
So
should have been sent out to the affected parties. We have our speeches ready and timed for 10 minutes.
Well, unfortunately, put it this way, I guess it's just up to a vote.
Yeah, I wasn't aware that this was even a item. I do think, in the interest of time, we've got a lot of people that are going to be speaking, and I know everybody's going to want to speak for their full 2 minutes. 10 people, 10 minutes apiece. You got another hour and 2 hours there.
It's another 2-3 hours. I mean, it's some people.
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing. So in other words, I believe we need to vote on this and deal with it.
1 minute, 5 minutes, 2 minutes. Yeah.
So the vote on the table would be to make the affected parties by 5 minutes and the public by 2 minutes.
Yeah, I mean, I agree. We're going to do a vote on it. I'm not going to vote in favor of it, just in general. I think they should have been given a little bit more. If they prepared statements, it's kind of unfair. But I understand, and I think they should have been notified ahead of time. But it's just, we are where we are today. But
I am in favor.
we've got a motion. I think you got a motion, a second, though.
In favor.
In favor.
In favor.
Yeah, so again, so that it passes. So sorry.
Thank you, Brian.
So if the staff would like to enlighten us on some of the changes and what is before us, please.
I believe, Mr. Chair, you've already asked for any disclosures, correct? And there's no
Yes.
disclosures and no ex parte communications, correct?
Mhm.
I heard that.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
All right, so as was previously stated, this is a privately initiated zoning map amendment for 826 Sunset Drive. So some quick notes on, sorry, thank you. For the record, Annie Greening, Principal Planner for the City of Lake Worth Beach. Some quick notes on quasi-judicial procedures. So this is a quasi-judicial hearing. That means it has certain procedural and substantive thresholds. You've got a lot of text on here that I know you're all aware of already. Some important notes. Opinion testimony, which is public comment, is not given the same weight as testimony from professionals representing parties in the proceedings, including affected parties. We do have 12 parties registered as affected parties. So as we just noted, those parties will be given slightly longer to speak, and they have some different rights than public comment. And then our analysis tonight has to be based on compliance with the comp plan and the criteria that are laid out in our land development regulations. This property does not have a city zoning district, so a simple denial is not possible. A reasonable zoning district needs to be assigned. Whether or not it is the one that the applicant is proposing tonight is a different question. So the result of the hearing tonight is not an approval or denial of anything. It is a recommendation to the City Commission. And that recommendation can either be recommending approval of the proposed zoning district of SFTF 14 or not recommending approval of that zoning district. And if you are not recommending approval of the SFTF 14 zoning district, you must recommend another reasonable zoning district. All right. So getting into the actual property. So we've got our location map here. You can see the aerial. This is 826 Sunset Drive. It's currently a vacant property near Lake Osborne in our city. And some quick background. We do also have both Glenn and William here tonight, who can answer some more detailed background questions if you have them. But this was annexed into the city in 2005. It's about 4.02-ish acre parcel. In June of 2006, the City Commission approved a future land use map designation of medium density residential. Prior land use and zoning approvals were reversed in 2009, and then in April of 2018, the city adopted a future land use map in Ordinance 2017-26 with a future land use designation for this parcel of medium density residential. So again, we've said it before, we're going to say it multiple times tonight. This has an adopted FLU, but no adopted city zoning designation. So the request to give it a zoning designation would be resolving a long-standing annexation error, really. No parcel in the city should go without a zoning district. So the proposed zoning designation of SFTF 14 is consistent with the underlying FLU and does not require a FLU amendment. The property is currently proposed to be developed with 16 single-family houses, but that proposed development or any proposed development on this parcel is not part of the decision tonight. This is strictly to give the parcel a zoning district. So we are not making any debates or considerations on what exactly will be developed. The current zoning, again, you can see the current map, it has no zoning. The surrounding area includes single-family residential and multifamily MF30 zoning districts, as well as some unincorporated Palm Beach County areas. This is the proposed zoning showing that SFTF 14 zoning district. And this is the existing future land use map. So you can see the current flue designation of medium density residential, as well as surrounding flues of single family residential, medium density residential, and high density residential. And on the right there is the existing table 1 in our future land use element of our comprehensive plan. So as you can see, SFTF 14 is one of the zoning districts that is aligned with the flue, and it is the lowest density of those zoning districts. In terms of staff analysis, you have this laid out in your staff report, but staff does find that the proposed zoning district is consistent with both the comp plan and the strategic plan. Again, the proposed zoning district aligns with the flue designation and will enable redevelopment of a vacant property, providing additional housing in the city. We also find that it's consistent with the rezoning criteria in our LDRs. It's compatible with the established land use pattern and that flue designation. It would allow for land uses, in this case, single family and 2-family development, like the zoning district name suggests, that are complementary to the surrounding single family and multifamily residential uses. And it would reflect that mix of the future land use designations as well. And of course, this will allow for and increase the potential for development on the site, as it currently cannot be developed without a zoning district. So staff does recommend that the board recommend approval to the City Commission for the zoning map amendment. We have some standard conditions of approval from both our electric utilities and public works regarding power lines and easements, as well as refuse service. And we have some potential motions for you all.
Before we have, I have one quick question for staff, very quick, but just the conditions look more like conditions that would normally be attached to a site plan approval. I haven't seen, how do you enforce conditions attached to a zoning approval? Like, because they're gonna have a land use and a zoning, so where do these conditions exist in the world of code?
William Waters, Community Sustainability Director. Those conditions are there as a preview and guidance for the developer in the future, whoever that might be, who chooses to develop this parcel. Once the zoning is established, as a point of reference, the property, as Amy mentioned, was in the county. It's accessed via county road. The properties to the north are an unincorporated county. There are some issues getting utilities to the site and providing refuse service. And so both of those departments want to provide some guidance to any developer wanting to develop this parcel on how they might go about laying out the parcel.
So those will just be in the ordinance, so somebody
Yes.
when doing title work on it, sees the rezoning, they'll see those
Yeah.
conditions. Okay, thank you.
So, this is a quasi judicial hearing to hear. You gotta, you see, the city attorney, do you have any of your words to share with us?
Well, as you're all aware, as a quasi-judicial hearing, the hearing must be fair in 3 respects: form, substance, and appearance. All board members must disclose if they have a reasonably believed to have a demonstrated bias or prejudice for or against any party, or direct or indirect monetary interest in the outcome, prejudgment of the issues, prior to hearing the facts, or any ex parte communication. I believe each of you already indicated that you do not have any of those issues. And at that point, the board secretary has already sworn in individuals, so you may move forward with the hearing, Mr. Chair.
Understand. Okay, anything to disclose? We spoke about that before, I believe, no? Right. Okay, it is my understanding that in addition to the applicant, we have 12 affected parties who wish to be heard. All those giving testimonies, raise your hand and you've been sworn in. Is that correct? I believe yes. Okay, thank you very much. Board secretary has done that. So Under the quasi judicial rules, we will hear the city first, then the applicant, and then the affected parties. We will hold questions until after presentations. When called, please state your name and name of address, property you're speaking about or on behalf of. After the applicant speaks, we will hear first from the affected parties in the following order, and then I'll give you first, I guess I could call out everybody's name, but when we get there, we will have, I mean, I could call it out now. or- Okay. Well, the first person would be Murray Hills Association. That's the first, that's
Mr.
attorney-
Chair, could you scoot your mic a little closer?
Hello? Hello? Yes, so the Murray Hills Association would be first, and I guess it's Attorney Scott Lee, who's here.
Let's, that
Not yet.
applicant is.
He's giving a preview.
Yeah, and that's Suzanne Koichi. I'm sorry if I didn't say the name. Suchi, okay. Nicoletta Lewis. Then it would be Aaron Thumb, Daniela Santamarina, Chris Frost, and Catherine Renee Hunter Frost. Then it's Dr. John and Ruth Lynch, Emily Golsich, William Yates, and then Amy Mitchell. I'm sorry if I didn't, okay, that's fine. And then Miss Rebecca Steers. No, not yet. I'm giving you the order so you would kind of know. And I'll call it up again as soon as people start coming in. Okay, so,
Mention my name. I'm Kathleen McGivern. I'm an affected party.
yeah, I think I did mention your name. I didn't know
I
how to
apologize.
pronounce your name. Yeah. So,
And Mr. Chair, I apologize. We have him listed in the under number 10, but he must not have gotten to the other list. Ignacio Martinez is the last one we have.
yeah, I don't have that on the.
Yeah, sorry, that's under number 10 instead of it didn't get carried over to number 7 in your script. I apologize.
Okay, good. So if the city staff would like to give their presentation at this point. Yeah, so it would be the city first and then the applicant.
So sorry, one sec. So the city, I mean, we already gave our presentation for that. We don't really have anything beyond that. We do not have Katie McGivern on the list that you just read out. We're on our lists here. I don't know if she's corresponded
This is what I was
separately with the
getting
city attorney.
I turned in my, you could email your statement. I did that.
That's public. He did that as well.
No, I did it.
Oh, and he's not on.
It was an effective party. I got it in the mail and I sent it into where it was supposed to be sent into planning and zoning. And that was done Thursday, well before the deadline. And I am an affected party.
Mr. Chair, I suggestion.
Yes,
I would suggest we move forward and we'll look into that.
yes, okay. So the city, so your presentation, you're done. Okay, so the city has now completed theirs. We would like to hear from the applicant, if that's possible. You state your name and address, sir?
Is this on yet? Yes, yeah, okay. Very good. Chris Rayleigh, address is 4521 PGA Boulevard, Palm Beach Gardens, Florida. And co-applicant and ownership is John Lang.
For the record, John Lang, I'm one of the owners of the property.
Excellent.
826 Sunset. But you want all my Lake Worth addresses or just this one?
No, just your address. Okay, sir.
All right, very good. Thank you so much. So I know a lot of people here. We've met several times with many of the people, and I wanted to say I appreciate both of you guys being here as well as them on a special occasion. I think this was a meeting that was set up out. Is it? Okay. Maybe I have to hold it. All right. All right. So, yeah, and this meeting was set up as a special meeting for this project. So I do appreciate that and as well as everybody showing up. So, and I know some of you and not all of you. So what I wanted to do today was just address the fact that we've been here, we've been working on this for 4 years or so, and we've heard everybody. we've listened to what everybody had to say. And initially we came in with something a lot different than what we're coming back in with now. And it's a result of all the meetings and the time and the efforts that a lot of people have put in, including myself and John Lang, the property owner, who's had the property now for 21 years and has been through that entire cycle of what you saw earlier with regard to the zoning, it being taken away and then being given back. And then, so it's been quite a process, and I appreciate John's time here as well. So first slide you have there is just the location, which you guys have seen, and the zoning, which you've seen as well, and the surrounding zoning. I think that was done very well in the city's presentation, so I don't need to reiterate. You can move on, Annie, to the next slide. So this slide basically, and it might be hard for you guys to see, after all of the meetings that I've had with Rollo, with Murray Hills, with their attorney, with the city, with the owners of the property, and the surrounding residents, I took everything that I had been given from them, and I wanted to try to address that up front before we move any further, because I know everybody came here and I wanted them to know that I acknowledge that. So the first thing that kind of stood out in the information that I received, including an email that I got on July 8th from Rollo that was addressed to the mayor, and I was copied on it. And out of that email, these are some of the highlights from that email that were noted. And the first one was the site's natural features and the perimeter buffers. So what we did with the new proposed conceptual site plan for the 16 lots in our request is we increased the perimeter buffers from our future site plan, our previous site plans. And we tried to preserve as many of the site's natural features as possible, including the perimeter, which there are a lot of trees on the perimeter that we wanted to preserve, and some very nice trees in the center of the property, which we've had discussions with a relocation expert that has come out and taken a look at what that might take to try to relocate some of those, because they will be needed to. And some are healthy, some are not. We've tagged the ones that are healthy. We're a sustainable development company, so we do this anyway, regardless of city code or ordinances. We always try to save as many trees as we can to facilitate what we do in all of our developments. So that was one of the ways that we tried to address this issue for the residents. Secondly, the big one was the structural integrity of the retaining wall that abuts the southern part of our property that is on it's currently owned and maintained by Murray Hills. It was installed by the original developer of Murray Hills to flatten out the natural grade of the land and maximize the buildable area for Murray Hills. And as you can see, and I'll show you from our site plan in a few minutes, they really did. I mean, they put their buildings within 5 or 6 feet of that wall to maximize as much density as they possibly could in their MF30 zoning. So we're aware of that. When we realized that the property was on Murray Hills property, the wall was on Murray Hills property, we had a visual site inspection done by our structural engineer. I'm an industrial engineer, so I have a structural, mechanical, and electrical background. So the guy that I had come out there, did what he could from a site inspection. And, he said, hey, the wall looks good. We found the old blueprints. We sent those blueprints to Murray Hills from when the wall was built in the late 60s. And it was built well. I mean, it's built like a tank. And that's why it's survived and done so well over the last almost 60 years. So in what we agreed to do the last time we were here is we agreed that before we did a building permit, that we would do a full inspection of the wall with Murray Hills permission. And, they would have to grant us that, but we will do a full inspection to make sure the inside is structurally good, sound, because the site inspection, it looks good from the outside. There could be something going on the inside. So we want to know that as well to make sure that we don't cause any damage to it when we do our development. So we've agreed to that in the past. We'll continue to agree to that prior to pulling our building permits. And we'll submit those reports to the city, to Murray Hills, to anybody that would like to have them. They'll be, public record at that point. If there is anything wrong with the wall, or there's a problem, or it looks like there could be caused a problem, then we'll adjust our site plan and our buildings accordingly. If that reveals anything. And that's one of the reasons why today we're just coming in with the zoning and not with an actual. We have a conceptual site plan, which I'll show you, which is what we would like to do, but we're not requesting approval of that right now. The third thing was traffic concerns. We've had several traffic studies done, both before the construction of the bridge, after the construction of the bridge, and every one that we've had done supports the site for the zoning and for the site plan that we're using as our conceptual site plan. Another concern was over the height of the structures on the property, which is, I understand that concern. In this zoning, the SFTF 14 zoning has the same LDRs for height and setbacks as the SFR zoning. So other than not building anything there, it's always going to be the same regardless of the zoning. So SFTF 14, and I'll show that on another slide, and SFR have the same heights. We also, by increasing the property perimeter and the setbacks, we provided some additional buffers, which will allow us to provide additional landscaping between our lot and the residents, and you'll see that in a few minutes. The last one was a concern of a more intense future development. Well, this zoning is the lowest in the category. So, and it has the same minimum lot sizes and the same setback requirements as SFR zoning. So you're limited as to how many units and lots you can put on here because of that. So that's why we chose this zoning, because it's in the current land use and it has the same setbacks and the same minimum lot sizes as the SFR. All right, you can go to the next slide, Annie. As she pointed out, which I don't have to repoint out, we are asking for the lowest zoning in the MDR category, which is a future land use now currently assigned. And if you look at the bottom little tabular there, I did a comparison of SFR to SFTF 14. SFR has a minimum lot area of 5,000 square feet. So does SFTF 14. Minimum lot width is 50 feet, same in SFTF 14. Maximum height, 30 feet, same in SFTF 14. Setbacks, the same. Front are 20, rear's 15, sides are 5. Minimum living area, 800 square feet. So it's the same across the board, regardless of which zoning you pick there. Next slide. So basically what I did here is I'm showing the setbacks that we created from a landscaping, a retention, and a right-of-way. So it would basically be what's between their buildings with their setback. I didn't add, which is another 5 to 10 feet, depending on where the building's located. The buildings on the south, there's a couple corners that are within 5 feet. But our setbacks on our property lines, 50 feet on the sides, which includes the landscape buffer, the retention, and the right-of-way. And then there's another 5 feet before you would even see our building. So that's, quite a bit of room between us and them, much more than is required by code. The 130 feet on the north side of the property is a pretty big compromise by us, because that is buildable area if we wanted it to be, but we pulled back and said, okay, instead of putting lots there, we'll put a buffer. And, that includes landscaping, dry retention, and the right of way. And it's almost 130 feet. So basically what you have there is on the north side of the property, you have 130 feet between the single family. And then on the east, west, and south side, you have anywhere from 50 feet to 40 feet on the south side between the actual Murray Hills property. The bottom buffer is the 40-foot buffer. That's the one that's by the retaining wall. And that's 25-foot landscaping and a buffer plus a 15-foot rear setback from our structures. So a total of 40 feet there, which gives us plenty of room to do some fairly heavy landscaping. The amount of landscaping that we do there will depend on the structural integrity of the wall, what we can or can't do there. I will tell you that the wall has a cantilever on it that's pretty large, that goes both ways, both front and back, and that's why it hasn't fallen over. If you know what a cantilever is, it's the bottom of the wall, it's the base, basically, and it has a pretty heavy cantilever running in underneath the property to hold the wall in place. So any weight or anything that we put on there from a landscaping standpoint would actually help hold the wall up. But we'll have a full report from a structural engineer that shows exactly how that works and make sure that we don't compromise that. We're also willing to correct any issues that we might cause to the wall. We'll fix those. If it's shown that or if there are issues with the structural integrity of the wall as it is now, we will cooperate with Murray Hills to try to fix what those might be, because if the wall does fall, it's falling on Murray Hills. So, and they're 5 feet away on the southern side. So, we would like to work with them to make sure, even now, to make sure that the wall isn't going to go anywhere. So, and that's important. So I understand that. You can go to the next slide, Annie. This kind of shows you like a black and green, kind of like that's the green is the buffers. that we've created. It doesn't include the right of way, but that's really the green buffers that we're creating in the property, where we'll be able to landscape, save trees, move some trees. We'll obviously be able to move some trees up into the front section there because there's a lot of room there and there's some open space there. We're going to try to save a couple of the mango trees that are up there in that area too. There's a couple of them that are good. There's a couple of them that aren't. So we're a big fan of that if we can. So we'll do everything we can on that side of it. Okay. So basically, as Annie stated, and William and the attorney knows, this is consistent with the zoning map request to rezone it, with the future land use. It's consistent with the comp plan, the strategic plan, and the LDRs. It's permitted by right under the MDR land use. We're not asking for any exceptions or any variances. We're not trying to change anything. We're just going straight through with exactly what's allowed. In addition to that, I've provided the responses that I could to the resident concerns. And I think I've tried to do my best to address the ones that are addressable in any type of development. And, and a lot of that was based on the email that I did receive on July 8th. And then basically based on the fact that the staff recommends, that the planning and zoning recommend approval, we request that you vote to move to recommend approval as well.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And I think John would like to just say a couple of things.
Good evening. For the record, I am John Lang. I'm one of the owners of the property. I wanted to give you a little bit of history without going too deep into this thing, but who I am and how we got to where we are. I was born on A Street 64 years ago. My mother and father are from Lake Worth. My grandfather came to Lake Worth in 1921. We had the first grocery store, the first car lot, first meat store, and the first liquor store in Lake Worth. Between my brother and I, we have over 240 employees in Lake Worth. Both of our businesses are in Lake Worth. And I have many properties in Lake Worth, and I live in Lake Worth. I have my entire life. That being said, I bought Sunset with a partner who still is the original owner of Sunset, is still involved, 23 years ago. We were going through our land plan, came to the city and had a land plan of MF20. We were not in the city. I came just to get water hookup. That's all. We were in the county. The city mobbed me. Please, please, please annex in the city. We'll make it great. We know you love Lake Worth. Please, we'll make it easy. It'll be easy. We're MF20. You got MF30 all the way around you. Everything will be fine. Well, I did that and I annexed and we got approved for MF20, but somebody from Lake Worth didn't transmit to DCA, which is by law what you have to do within 10 days. And that was used against me. And all of $130,000 zoning application was thrown in the garbage. Again, we were approved for MF20 and we were not in the city. Not you, but the city begged me to do it. I love Lake Worth. I said, well, I'll do it. Okay. Big mistake, but here we are. That was 21 years ago. We have tried for 21 years to solve this problem, literally nonstop. We worked with the city. We brought other buyers. We've done this. We've done that. It's, this money was set for my kid to go to college. My kid is about to become a grandfather. And a little bit more about this. I know what these people sitting behind me feel. I know what it's like when development comes in. I was a city landscape architect of record for many years. My father-in-law was a city attorney for many years. I know what they're feeling. They're wondering what's going on. They're scared. They don't like it. But you need to know that before anybody behind me was there, we were there. When the lots to the north of us were woods, when Ray bought the property, we sold the land to Murray Hills so they could build all the way around us and the first 10 feet of fill so that they could flatten out their land at the lake. So, we've been there a long time. You can see it's a postage stamp, and that's the way the city described it. We need this property. Now, had we gone through with this approval, you guys would have had $12 million a year on the tax rolls plus for many, many years. But here we are. So what do? I know these people behind me. I know many of them too, and personally, and I understand they're scared, but we're now asking for the lowest density out there, the lowest density allowed. I'm not going to go on and on about this. I could go on for hours, but I don't speak publicly much. But I did feel like I needed to give up and give a little bit of history. I've been here for a long time. I'm in Lake Worth. I love Lake Worth. My business is in Lake Worth. Between my brother and I, 240 employees here. We support Lake Worth, and we're happy to help. But again, we had approved at 80 units is what we got approved for. They got negotiated to 65. Then it went down to 50. Then it was 45, and now here we are all the way down to 16 lots or whatever it is. I mean, we've been bending and bending and bending and bending and bending and bending. It's time to get this over with. Thank you.
Okay. So we will start with the affected parties, and the first would be Attorney Scott J. Lee. Please state your name and your address.
Scott Lee, 10572 Arcole Court, Wellington, Florida. So I represent Murray Hills Association, the fine folks behind me. And while I believe the residents understand that something may go in on that postage stamp size parcel, from a zoning perspective, this body has the right and an obligation to curate the appropriate zoning designation with conditions that protect the surrounding communities, most notably Murray Hills, the community that undoubtedly will be most affected. Really, what should take place, though, is a deferment of any decision on this matter until the city undertakes a proper analysis of the environmental impact, the drainage impact, the runoff impact, the impact on the structural integrity of Murray Hills perimeter retaining wall that you heard about, which is going to be impacted, no doubt, no matter how large or how small this development may be. What you didn't hear from Mr. Raley was the fact that we had met with him, I think it was about a year or so ago, where he refused to take any responsibility for the retaining wall, whatever it may be. Now, all of a sudden, you're hearing a different tune because he's before this body right now asking for something. We asked him back then to post a bond or to get an insurance policy, naming the association as an additional insured as it relates to the retaining wall. No and no were the answers. Wasn't even a discussion. So for him to come here today and suggest that all of a sudden he's going to indemnify and hold the association harmless in the event that he causes some damage to his development to the retaining wall is a bit inconsistent with what he's expressed to us. And frankly, as it relates to this visual inspection that he did, that doesn't really tell at all what the condition of the retaining wall is. And he knows he's an engineer. From an engineering perspective, you need to do destructive testing. Mr. Raley has my contact information. We've emailed each other. He knows who I am. He could have reached out to me over the past year and asked to do an inspection. We happily would have let him do that. In fact, we did do an inspection. We did get engineers, and our engineers did see that there was some structural integrity issues, major cracks throughout this wall that will be impacted by any size of development. But a little more background here. Murray Hills, as you know, it's a retirement community of 518 condominium units with thousands of residents, many of whom have lived in the city for decades. This enormous group of senior citizen residents would be the ones most impacted by this development. The project is not simply adjacent or tangentially connected to Murray Hills. The proposed project is being wedged right into the heart, right into the center of the Murray Hills community. The developer submittals to the city completely fail to capture the topography of the development in relation to Murray Hills. The proposed project is not slightly elevated as they reference in their submissions in comparison to Murray Hills. Basically, the inside of the U-shaped Murray Hills development where the proposed project will sit is a large, tall hill. If you guys have ever been out there, approximately 30 feet higher than the Murray Hills community. And I appreciate the owner's history here and the sentiments, but the property is the property is the property. And we can't just give away a zoning designation because he's been a wonderful citizen and contributor to the city of Lake Worth, because you have 518 units here filled with thousands of residents who will be impacted depending upon what goes on the top of this hill. Careful attention needed starts with providing a zoning designation which avoids densely packed homes, which will only exacerbate the already existing drainage and runoff problems in this area. Another thing you didn't hear from Mr. Raley is whether or not he did any, or the city for that matter, no disrespect, as to whether or not they did any analysis whatsoever in terms of drainage or runoff. This community is faced with constant flooding problems, constant drainage problems, which is no doubt, I'm not an engineer.
You have 30 seconds left, sir.
Yeah, understood. No doubt is going to be impacted as a result of whatever development goes in there. This board has the ability to adopt a particular zoning district with conditions. One of those conditions, if not others, should be that if we choose this particular zoning designation, you could cap the number of units. So the way the LDRs read is that that's the maximum number of
Time's up,
units,
sir.
maximum number of units that could go in, but you can condition the approval of a particular zoning district that the number of units are less. And that's what we request that you do, either attach significant conditions in terms of the number of units and, or more importantly and appropriately,
Time's up, sir.
defer the application until the analysis is done.
Okay. Suzanne, Koichi? Excuse me. Yeah, see, I'm sorry. I didn't know how to.
I'm Susan Cioce. I live right next to the property, 822 Sunset. You can't hear me?
Man, closer.
Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm Susan Cioce. I live right next to the property. I've lived there about 30 years and it's been very quiet and a lovely place. But I just want to say something. This is all about the zoning. Can you hear me now? I have to talk in front then. Okay. All this is about zoning. Back in August 31st, 2021, the same applicant applied, that was SCG Florida, gave presentation to Roloff Neighborhood Association about a possible rental community development at 826 Sunset Drive, 4 acres, with a pathway to ownership after 2 years. At that time, the potential investor was looking for an upzoning on the property from SF7 to SF14. Although the investor promised to only build 12 units per acre, the proposed density of a potential of 48 or 56 units was too much for the neighborhood, and the SF14 zoning was not consistent with our previous discussions with the city. We don't even have 48 homes on Sunset Drive and Collier combined. That's 2 streets. And back in 2021, the PCB board recognized the incompatibility of SF14 zoning with our surrounding neighborhood and resoundingly denied the application. Now the applicant is proposing 16 single-family houses with the same SF14 zoning. However, that proposed development is not part of the subject requested before you this evening. We cannot rely on the building permit process to protect the neighborhood once the high density of SF14 is in place. If this potential investor is unable to obtain the financing, they could sell the property with the new up zoning of SF14. The neighborhood would be at the mercy of the next developer, who would then want a maximum of 56 units or more. Roloff wants to work with the city and this potential investor. However, it has always been the SF7 zoning that can protect the neighborhood. If this subject is truly serious about only building 16 single-family homes, then this board should only allow a maximum of SF7 zoning, which is already above and beyond the SF4 zoning. That's how our neighborhood is currently built out. Requesting for SF14 zoning and only allowing a zoning density of SF7 that is more compatible with the neighborhood. We don't need empty promises and a Trojan horse of zoning destination destroying our quiet neighborhood. He said the lowest density was SF14, but it's not, it's SF7. That's what we want. And then I have a copy I'll just give you.
Way to go.
Thank you. Now we'd like to hear from Miss Nicoletta Lewis. Please state your name and address.
Hi, I'm Nicoletta Lulis, and I live at 821 Sunset Drive, and my property abuts this property 826. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for hearing me out. I'm going to read a little bit here to be appropriate, but I included some pictures here so you can also see some elevations if anybody doesn't know where the property is, what it looks like, and what we're dealing with as far as deciding whether it's going to be single family 7 or single family 2 family 14, which does make a big difference, even though it might not sound like it. As Mr. Raley said, there were so many similarities. There's actually some underlying things here that will make a big difference with these two zonings as far as my research goes. So I speak today as a resident of the residences of Lake Osborne. As you know, it's been there since 1957 or earlier. Our community is a single family, primarily single family resident home community. This is what we're dealing with. And I would ask for you to actually recognize that the Sunset Drive property at 826 should more appropriately be associated with single family 7 zoning because it is at the elevation of our neighborhood. As you can see on this map, sorry. It's right in the middle of our single family neighborhood. And go ahead to the next one. I want you to see a little, keep going. There's a little indicator of our elevation we're dealing with. So I know that's dark, but there's another slide coming up. That's the historical elevation, and you can see it on the right, but there is a link. And go to the next slide. Next. There you go. Click the topography one. The blue. Oh. So, yeah. That is a picture of how the land is working there. As you can see, 826 Sunset Drive, that big rectangle shape there in the middle, the postage stamp, is definitely high above Murray Hills, which is in the front of it, down below of it. Can everybody see that? Okay, that's from the government website right there. So if you just look at things like that, simply that, you can see that it is a part of the Rollo neighborhood. It is not part of Murray Hills. So I'm again still not understanding why it's associated with any kind of multifamily zoning. As you know, and it was nice to meet the owners. They're not small local homeowners. They're major regional developers and founders of the city of Atlantis, all kinds of things and land all around our cities, as you heard. And we've always been wondering why they're keeping this land vacant and in legal limbo for nearly, over 20 something, 30 years. Now we face another attempt to upzone this land through two-family 14 zoning. So that would allow for single-family and two-family attached units like duplexes and two-story duplexes, which are basically townhomes, like the developer tried to get approved last time. This is within our single-family neighborhood. As you can see with the blue line, that is where the traffic would have to go to get to that neighborhood, right through all of our single-family homes on Sunset Drive. That is dangerous. And as far as the traffic studies went, apparently they were done at different times, but what I found in the reports, it was during pandemic, bridge closures, that was definitely not the true traffic in our neighborhood. And I could tell you that because I've been living there for 7 years. As far as legalities with zoning, go ahead to the next slide. With single family 14, I'll just leave that there for you guys to read. But from my understanding, if a developer wants to take advantage of the transfer of development rights program, they must be zoned at single family, two family 14 to qualify. And I don't think you guys can answer me if I ask that question, but I hope that's correct because that's what I found online.
Seconds left.
Okay, so we need to keep it single family 7. It's a natural extension of existing neighborhood. It's fundamental to maintaining property values and our quality of life. Do not create a floating zone by making it single family, two family 14. It's an uncharacteristic intrusion. The density transition is appropriate for a step-down density buffer. It follows the guidelines.
Your time is up, miss.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. We now have Mr. Aaron Thurn. Mr. Thurn?
Is he in the hallway? What's his name?
It says Aaron Thurn.
Aaron. Aaron.
Aaron, anybody named Aaron?
No.
If they do show up, we can put them on the back end. Okay? All right, Miss Daniela Santa Marina.
Santa Marina?
Yep, absolutely. If someone does miss out a step, they'll have the ability to come back before we finish.
That's a no.
No, not here. Okay, Mr. Chris Frost and Catherine Renee Hunter Frost. Please state your name and your address, please.
Chris and Renee Frost, 2212 Quell Trail. We already in there. Okay. We live at 2212 Quell Trail in the residents of Lake Osborne neighborhood, also known as Rollo. We strongly oppose the SF-TF rezoning for 826 Sunset Drive. I'd like to take a moment and share a personal experience with you. When we first moved into our forever home in April 2021, we met two special neighbors right away. Dr. Lynch and his wife, Ruthie Lynch, reside in the house behind us. Ann and Jim Say previously occupied the house directly in front. They welcomed us to the neighborhood. They told us how lovely and quiet our neighborhood is. About 2 weeks after moving in, I was walking our dog, Maxwell, down Collier, headed to the lake, when my neighbor Ann motioned to me and asked, "Do you have a moment to talk?" I said, "Of course." Ann told me she had raised her children here. She told me her husband, Jim, was really sick, and she could no longer fight the Sunset development. A fight that our neighbors have continued for almost 18 years. This was the first my husband and I heard of this development. I told Ann I would absolutely step in and do everything I could. That is when we found Rollo and joined the association. We are here fighting for our neighborhood, and we are also fighting for those who stood before us and are no longer with us. Ann and Jim passed away 2 years ago. Additionally, for our neighbors such as Tripp, Katie, Susan, and Joanne, who have continued this effort for many years.
Our primary concern is public safety and access. The Sunset property depends on a single narrow ingress egress. Adding intensity will bring more cars, delivery trucks, and construction traffic. causing congestion and dangerous delays for EMS, police, and any other EMS people that need to come in. A block single access point could trap residents and first responders. We are assured that every townhome unit would have fire sprinklers installed when the proposal was submitted. Are fire sprinklers going to be required all 16 homes? Would that require high density redundant code requirement and access is unacceptable risk? We are really concerned about the SFT 14 zoning. It is out of step with the single family SFF fabric of Rollo. This rezoning would allow up to 56 units, far beyond the 16 homes on the site plan. In March of 2024, this board anonymously denied the townhome proposal for Mr. Rayleigh. I do not trust that Mr. Rayleigh will only build 16 homes on this beautiful special land. If we were truly the intent, there would be no need to change the zoning in the first place. Once the zoning envelope is lifted, the proposal can reach its highest possible density, similar to the goal for the townhouse where as many as 56 units. We held up signs saying no spot zoning in March is illegal, Florida. To me, this is what's happening here. It looks like spot zoning for another named up zoning, and it undermines the character of Rollo neighborhood. Please deny SFTF for the 826 Sunset Drive and require any proposal to match SF single family scale with redundant access and improvement on site stormwater management. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Okay, can we have Dr. John and Ruth Lynch, please? Yes.
Welcome.
Just please state your name and address.
Dr. John T. Lynch, 2802 Lake Osborne Drive.
And Ruth Lynch.
The T in my name stands for Terry, which I go by. I've been a resident of Lake Worth for 50 years, to give you a little background of me. And Mr. Lang, I don't believe has ever lived on that property. I've been there 30 years in my house around the corner from him, and 826 Sunset since the last 25 years. I don't think anybody's lived in that house. To give you a little history of that, it's a 4-acre lot, but only one house on it. Okay, that shows low density right there. Okay. But it's like, here we go again, deja vu, same old story by this developer. He wants to overdevelop a single family neighborhood for increased profits. He submits a plan for 16 homes on this 4-acre lot, but he asks for a single family 14 zoning. Why the higher density zoning? Why not single family 7? So he can flip it and overdevelop the property. It's a simple bait and switch tactic. The neighborhood consists of 1/4 to 1/3 acre lots, which includes one 1-acre lot owned by myself and my wife, Ruthie. Once again, the developer's plans will create too high a density in a single family neighborhood. In particular, traffic will be overwhelming on an already overburdened side street. Traffic studies done during COVID and closed 6th Avenue Bridge. That's probably why they okayed the density for traffic. We are not against development of this property. We just want the development to match the character of the existing neighborhood. Thank you.
Well, to me, this is a red flag. Instead of the obvious single family 7 zoning, for 16 homes at 4 per acre, the developer is requesting, SFTF 14, allowing much denser development. So is it the developer's true intention to build only 16 homes? Or is this an upzone and flip strategy often used in the real estate industry? Higher zoning increases property value than selling for a profit without building a thing. Well, in July 2025, a neighbor discovered that 826 Sunset Drive was listed for sale on LoopNet, a commercial real estate site. The initial listing was actually May 2025, when Mr. Rayleigh was meeting with employees of Community Sustainability Department to develop this current plan before you. When we made inquiries July 2025 to Mr. Rayleigh, the listing was suddenly changed and stated no longer advertised, but the price was $4 million, and it had the provision, I quote, closing subject to the site plan approval. That means of this 16 home site plan with the zoning they're requesting. So my concern that Mr. Rayleigh and the owners plan to sell this property after zoning is approved is real. I respectfully ask the Planning and Zoning Board do not recommend the requested zoning by the applicant. First, because single family 14 is not justified by the submitted plans for 16 homes. And two, the applicant has shown he plans to sell the property if awarded the higher zoning. And thirdly, twice your board and the city commission has voted against townhomes, 42 townhomes at this site. And it's 56 townhomes the zoning would allow, much, much more. Do not recommend the higher zoning at 14 at 826 Sunset Drive. And if you have to apply a zoning, no more than single family 7. If I have a little bit more time, I was going to talk about the future land use. And I just want to know if anybody from the city actually came out and looked at the property when that future land use was assigned, actually inspected it, or did they just look at an aerial view? I think the future land use plan is flawed and should be amended to limit the development to low density of
30
less
seconds.
than single family 7 and to be in line with the community that it's connected to. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, Emily Golish. Please state your name and address, please.
Emily Golish, 2033 Collier Avenue. I'm a lay person. I didn't do all sorts of research and I don't know all these details, but I can tell you that that lot, the one way in and the one way out is through the Rollo area. Single family homes everywhere. It's a tiny little area where we already have, I believe we have more traffic since they reopened the bridge because everybody likes to go through now. I could tell you that that single way in and out directly affects the very few houses that are right there, this little street, Quail Trail. My landlady, Susan, who lives right, her driveway is right there at the entrance. So the fact is it must be limited to a single family zoning comparable to what it's connected to. And that's all I've got for you. Thank you.
Much. Mr. William Yates.
Sorry, I'm late. You called me, but I wasn't here. I'm here now.
Okay.
I'm, this will be a virtual transmission. Can you hear me?
William Yates is here. He's online.
I'm online. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. My name is Bill Yates. I have owned a condominium at Murray Hills at 3120 Cynthia Lane since 2017, and it has been in my family for over 21 years. I oppose this request for SFTF 14 zoning as it's inappropriate for this parcel of land. That designation would result in permissible medium density development in a neighborhood which currently consists of single-family homes. The risks to the current residents, as I'll discuss, that are adjacent to 826 Sunset Drive far exceed any potential benefits to the city. I noted that city staff recommended approval of this request to the City Commission, finding that the zoning request is consistent with the comprehensive plan, strategic plan, and land development regulations, the LDRs. That finding, in my view, is flawed. It appears that the review failed to even consider the overarching purpose of the LDR. Section 23.1 to 23.3, of the Lake Worth Beach LDR states in part that the purpose of the LDR is to implement the comprehensive plan of the city pursuant to Florida Statute 163 for the protection and promotion of the safety, health, comfort, morals, peace, prosperity, appearance, and general welfare of the city and its inhabitants. I want to talk about some of these. However, since my time has been cut in half, I want to focus on two, just safety and prosperity. The development lot sits higher than the floor of my second-story unit. This mass of land is held back from my building by a 14-foot tall retaining wall, which is 6 feet and 4 inches from the northeast side of my home. The upper retaining wall is a mere 8 inches thick and exists on 3 sides of the lot, but at varying heights. The negative consequences to Murray Hills residents should that thin wall collapse into our buildings could be catastrophic. This lot towers over Murray Hills, and that will necessitate a robust runoff abatement plan and special conditions on the development to protect adjacent properties. Prosperity. The negative risks are identifiable for well over 500 homeowners in Murray Hills and for many more in adjacent neighborhoods. These negative risks include lower property values, possible property damage, and potential health and safety risks resulting from stormwater runoff onto Murray Hills and adjacent properties. In the discussion of the review criteria for the rezoning of land, city staff deemed that the requested zoning designation complies with consistency, land use pattern, sustainability, compatibility, and furthers the economic development program. Let's look at these criteria. Consistency. The lot in question has held one single family home for almost 75 years. It's in a neighborhood of single family homes only. Land use. Would the redesignation be contrary to the established land use pattern? I believe the answer is yes. You cannot or should not ignore the fact that the history of this Sunset Drive neighborhood, including 826 Sunset Drive, is single-family homes only. Sustainability. I agree that designating this lot for medium-density development should increase the
30
tax
seconds left,
base.
sir.
That is, if the commensurate reduction in hundreds of property values does not offset predicted gains. The zoning designation would not be complementary to the existing residential uses in the Sunset Drive neighborhood. Compatibility. A zoning designation of single family, two family of up to 14 units per acre is clearly incompatible with the
time's up, sir.
existing Sunset Drive neighborhood.
Yeah.
Excuse me?
Your time is up, sir.
All right. Thank you.
Okay. We'll get Amy Milhich.
Almost got it wrong.
State your name and address, please.
Good evening. My name is Amy Mihalik. I live at 2032 Collier Avenue, directly north of the property, 826 Sunset Drive. I filed as affected party because this proposed zoning change would directly impact the safety character and environmental integrity of our neighborhood. This feels like, well, the developer is requesting SFT F14 zoning, which allows up to 14 units per acre or about 56 homes. Yet the site plan's only for 16. If 16 was truly the plan, they wouldn't need this zoning. So that discrepancy alone raises concern. This feels kind of like a get the zoning now, build bigger later situation as a way to secure high density zoning, flip the land, and leave the neighborhood to deal with the consequences. This property currently has no zoning at all. You are not obligated to recommend SFT F14 zoning just because the future land use designation says medium density residential. That flu label has been disputed for nearly 20 years because it never fit this location's physical reality or neighborhood context. When the property was annexed into Lake Worth Beach in 2005, the medium density designation was applied over strong community objection. Our neighborhood immediately organized, forming the Save Our Neighborhood Political Action Committee, and submitted a 400-page petition with hundreds of signatures opposing the density. At that time, and again later, when the townhouse proposal came forward, and during the subsequent settlement agreement that went to the commission, this community has made the same arguments you're hearing tonight. The proposed density is incompatible with the quiet single-family neighborhood to the north. It would change the character of the existing neighborhood. The argument that this site should transition from Murray Hills to single-family is flawed because the ridge rises, up to 30 feet above Murray Hills. The impacts of light and noise might affect Murray Hills, but the traffic, the safety risks, the infrastructure strain would fall entirely on our side. The site only has one ingress and egress, more than 1,500 feet from a major road, and that's a major safety issue in an emergency. So none of those concerns have changed in 20 years. If anything, the risk today is greater because of increased traffic and population density in the surrounding neighborhood. Collier Avenue that I live on is a narrow street without sidewalks, and that's part of what makes it special. Kids play outside, families walk their dogs, and neighbors stop to chat. It feels like the kind of street many of us grew up on. And I'm born and raised here in Lake Worth. I've been in my house for 15 years. But it's also not designed, my street's not designed for heavy traffic. And adding dozens of cars every day through this quiet residential area would compromise the safety for pedestrians, for children, especially given the street's limited visibility around parked cars. And going down Sunset, there's a bend that creates a blind spot. From an environmental standpoint, the tree line of the ridge is a defining natural feature. The mature trees and the elevation provide habitat, reduce runoff, and shape the skyline. And I've personally documented 21 different bird species there, which nest year-round. And our neighbors have seen burrowing owls and gopher tortoises, which are both protected species. If the trees are cleared, that habitat and a sense of place that's irreplaceable will be lost, not just to us, but to the birds and the animals that call it home. I'm going to skip through some things. I also rent a room on Airbnb, and a lot of my guests come because of the quietness and serenity of our neighborhood. And we don't want to lose that. So granting this kind of zoning here would effectively blanket zone one of the few remaining ridge properties for future high density development. That's not smart growth. No matter how it's framed, it's the wrong fit for this site. If the developer truly wants to do 16 single family homes with some tweaks to the site plan, we'd be open to as SF7. I would even say piggyback off of their lawyer, SF7, cap it at 10 if we want to really take into consideration the topography and the sensitivity of this land. So this has been brought before and it's been rejected every time. We understand that this zoning request is being presented as a way to clean up the city zoning map, but this situation is not the result of an oversight. It's the result of a longstanding conflict between the city's adopted future land use designation and the neighborhood's clearly expressed opposition to that density. Correcting a zoning error is good governance, but assigning the right zoning is good planning. Correcting the record now, if any correction is needed, it should be in the future land use designation, changed to low density residential. Please don't let 20 years of community advocacy be undone by a zoning category that opens the door to exactly what we fought so hard to prevent. Once the zoning is approved, it cannot be easily reversed. You have the opportunity tonight to set this straight, to align the zoning with the reality, with safety, and with the community.
Time is up, miss.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay, Rebecca Steers? Miss Steers, are you here? All right, we have a gentleman who was, your name, sir, is? Aaron Thumb. Come on up, Mr. Thumb.
All right. Aaron Thumb, 2201 Collier Ave. I did file as an affected party. I prepared a statement, submitted it, and prepared map documentation. Honestly, I don't think you need to hear the same thing over and over and over because I'm just going to say all the same stuff. but it would significantly negatively affect my family and my house because I am very close proximity to that. That is the access to the lake that I live on from that entrance within a couple 100 feet. And at that point, I can't let my kids go out in the front yard to do their cartwheels and stuff when I know that there's like another 80 people potentially transitioning through that area. And ultimately, it totally removes the value of that property for me, right? And so I highly support. I would love to see single family homes built in there. I have no issue with it being developed personally, but the density, it just does not fit. It's a square peg in a round hole, or however you want to say it. The density, I understand how it could have been originally construed, where it made sense because of Murray Hills, and that's a higher density area. But they also have 7 entrances in that one spot to that neighborhood, whereas that is just one entrance in and out. And I understand that there's this Florida statutes and the laws of if you do that, if you give fire. So technically speaking, for that zoning and that density, you're supposed to have minimum of 2 entrances and exits. The loophole to get through that is by having fire sprinklers in the units. But that doesn't change the core fact that that's really not enough entrances and exits for that location. So everything else is the same that you're going to hear from all my other neighbors. So you can just log all that down as same comments, and I'll save you 10 seconds or however many. That's it. That's all I got. I strongly oppose it, and I would love single family there. So thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Thank you. Okay,
We should also, I'll speak for both the attorney and myself. Ms. McGivern was on the original negotiation committee for the Fluger proceeding that started long before I came to the city 15 years ago. And she's been well established over time to be an affected party, so we should let her speak.
Thank you.
okay.
Go. Thank you, Mr. Watt. Thank you.
Please state your name and address, please.
My name is Kathleen McGivern. I am an affected party. I live within 400 feet of the said property, 826 Sunset Drive. I was the chairman of the Political Action Committee, Save Our Neighborhood. I am very well versed in the history of this property. I will say, in the beginning, Mr. Lang, we asked him, why don't you just build, you can make quite a profit. Why don't you build single family homes on that property? And I guess it just wasn't enough money. I don't know. But, I'm sorry he had to hang on to it all these years, but we could have had some nice homes up there in 2005 or so. So, wasn't my choice. It was his. The topography, I'm glad it was brought up and illustrated by Nikki. It looks very cut and dried on what you're seeing, 2D. There is one way in and out of that property and through our single family neighborhood. And I think that's very important. Another thing that was said, and I'll be brief, the site plans aren't worth the paper they're printed on, quite frankly. And I hate to be that way, but once a high density is put on that property, that's it. Well, we can be promised the moon and the sun, a golden carousel, whatever you want. But once the zoning goes on that property, it's on it. If it is flipped, there's nothing much we can do. So I ask you tonight to please put the lower density on. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay, do the board members have any questions from the affected parties?
We have one more.
Excuse me?
One more affected party, Ignacio Martinez.
And also George Adams. I'm online, and I thought that we sorted out that I was going to speak as well.
Did you submit as an affected party, or were you providing public comment?
I hoped I was an affected party, but the website was kind of confusing for me. So see if you can find me and tell me what I can do.
I don't see you on the affected party list.
We have a regular public comment from you, not affected party. So you will speak with the public comments.
You will have your turn, sir.
Thank you. Okay, thank you.
You're welcome. All right, do the board members have any questions from the affected parties?
There was one other party though that you said want to speak that you Mr. Iglesias.
Ignacio Martinez,
Ignacio
if
Martinez, so.
he's here.
Anybody in the hallway here? No, they have the TV on out there. Oh, okay. Oh, all right.
Going once, going twice? No. All right. Any questions, Jim? I think we've heard very clearly what the opposing sides and what the issues are. And I really don't have any questions. I don't think my fellow board members do either. So I'd like to move the meeting along here. We'd like to go to public comment to hear some more of the public comment, please. And we could start with Mr. George Adams, who's on the on our Zoom. How are you, Mr. Adams? Do you
Thank
get for the public comment? There will be a 2-minute time.
Okay. All right. So I made a mistake. I'm an affected party. I pushed probably the wrong button online, but that's fine. I'll go quickly because I don't want to spend any more time than needed. But I think what I'm hearing is that the developer's zoning request is based upon a conceptual plan that is effectively single family planning. So I don't understand why, if he's being honest and forthright, why he doesn't just want the lower zoning for single family. It seems to me, as you heard already, that it's very suspicious and that it opens the door to all kinds of spot zoning. That has me really concerned as a person that lives in the Murray Hill neighborhood. By the way, I'm 3320 Lake Osborne Drive. I want to just go over again. The fire and safety risks have me really concerned for the Lake Osborne neighborhood. Basically, I think the Murray Hill residents have a different set of concerns than the Lake Osborne neighborhood, and the Lake Osborne neighborhood really almost overrides the Murray Hill. Even though I live in Murray Hill, and I'll probably get beat up by my neighbors for saying that, but the fire and safety, the amount of traffic flow, and the environmental impacts are all going to really affect the Lake Osborne area. I don't know if you've ever taken the time to drive through that neighborhood and know how crowded it is, but it is really quite busy already before you put in potentially pick a number, 42, 50 units in there. And that's just going to so overburden that neighborhood that it's going to make it's just going to change the whole nature. And I really do think that whoever it was way before you guys made a mistake when they did the original zoning for that. I'm not astute on the zoning, but it really has always been based upon what Lake Osborne Estates is, which is really single family homes. And I'm worried about it for my own reason about living in Murray Hill, and you've heard about the retaining wall and our concerns about light and safety and other like noise and traffic that's going to affect us. But primarily, just keep in mind, okay, am I out of time? Keep in mind that the fire and safety, the fire and safety issues and the environmental impacts
So your
to the
time is
Lake
up.
Osborne. Okay, thank you. I think you get the message.
Next. Okay, public comment? Yes, sir. Please state your name and your address.
So, if, let me just
My-
preface some of this first. If you've presented a comment to me in writing through email.
I did not. I
Okay.
just raised my hand if they don't want to. Can I speak? Okay, I live at 5356 Lake Osborne Drive. It's in the Lake Osborne Estates neighborhood, which is adjacent to Rollo. And we support them so much on their cause here and have come to many of their meetings. And I just want to go on record for our association that we're with them. It doesn't make any sense. Thank you, gentlemen.
Thank you.
Could you give me your name, sir?
Oh, Lawrence Silver.
Thank you.
You got the address though, right?
Lake Osborne,
5356.
5356. Thank you.
Okay.
Okay. Next person for, anybody else for public comment? Yes, sir.
Do you mind letting Sherry explain a little bit of an organization approach to the public comment? Because she might provide some guidance that might be a little bit smoother than just having it be a free for all.
So I received a large amount of comments through email, and I intend to read those comments if you don't wish to speak for yourself. If you haven't filled out a card and you want to speak, please do so. But I just want to, if I have a comment and you fill out a card, it's one or the other. It's not going to be both. We will speak for, just for 2 minutes. And I guess that's kind of the bulk, the gist of it is that, if you've already filled out a card, you're welcome to speak here, but I will not read your comment if you did submit one previously to me.
So do you just want us to go?
So if you want to proceed with your,
I want to talk.
let's just speak, I'll call the names. I'll
Okay.
call the anybody else have cards now, they can hand them to me and we'll call them in order. And then after at the end, then I will read those comments that I've received from email and those people haven't spoken yet. Make sense?
Yes.
Okay.
Thanks, Sherry.
Wonderful. Do you have any cards that you want me to? Anybody else? There's cards in the other two. And if you wanted to speak. All right. So I do have a few here that are have submitted comments and also filled out a card. I'm just gonna no order to it. Greg Richter. I think he left already. Greg Richter. Okay, hold on. Celeste. Yeah, that's me. You can read it. Are you sure? Yes. Okay. All right. So we'll move on. I'll save that. I'll read that in when I do all of them.
Okay.
James Schumacher.
Yes.
Please.
Jane Schumacher, 3402 Cynthia Lane, Lake Worth Beach. I'll try to shorten my talk a little bit because I do hit most of the points that have been addressed, but it's such a big concern for our neighborhood. It's a 4-acre elevated piece of property. The zoning to this property should be the smallest single-family development possible for several reasons. For the one ingress, egress, limited traffic access. This is not an open access piece of property. The property's elevation will cause drainage and water runoff. The Sunset property has elevations as significant as 20 feet higher than its surrounding neighbors. The Murray Hills retaining wall, any new construction should be limited due to the potential stress on this wall. These are but several of the neighboring concerns. Please limit this to this 4-acre elevated piece of property. How about zoning it for a farmette again? Please seriously consider the neighboring concerns for overdevelopment of this property. Limit the zoning potential to farmette, or if you must, the least density single family with restrictions to tree removal and any activities that might cause damage and concerns to the surrounding neighborhood. The safety of the residents who potentially live there with one egress if there is an emergency. SFTF 14 is excessive zoning for this piece of property.
Thank you very much.
Celeste? Yeah, were you just gonna read? Oh, that's right, I'm gonna read yours. Sorry. Catherine Cargill?
Please state your name and address.
Catherine Cargill, 3320 Lake Osborne Drive, apartment 102, Lake Worth Beach. First of all, thank you for coming. I know you're all volunteers and this is a terrible decision that you have to make. I moved here 10 years ago to take care of my parents who have since passed, and I decided that I would live here the rest of my life. However, if that property becomes developed with the runoff problems that we already have, and with the way that Mr. Raley is always changing his story, I have no confidence that he would keep any of the promises that he has made here today. And it is so risky to us that I wonder if I will stay if that happens. So please keep us in your minds when you make this decision. This is huge for 518 families. Please protect us. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, I believe that is the bulk of the cards that I had. I think everybody's already, that's filled out one if you didn't have anything in between. I'm gonna start with what I have received through email. If you fill out one later, you'll be welcome to listen to it. I do have several submittals that were husband and wife. So as we did with the affected parties, so what will I have two from the Firos, Gretchen and Robert Firo. If you're here,
Yes.
okay, if you want to choose who wants to speak or read, I'm gonna do one.
Either one.
The Sang Stackens, Eugene and Jan, same situation. And also Jean Kniflefler and Kay Kniflefler. No, okay, so we're gonna pick one and go. But in the meantime, we're gonna do Celeste at 3360 Lake Osborne Drive. She's writing the email in regards to the privately initiated zoning map ordinance 2025-16 to rezone to single family, two family residential SFTF 14 at 826. She asks the board to oppose the amendment for the following reasons. There's an established neighborhood around the area with only single family homes. Safety. There's only one egress and egress to the property, egress to the property. 3 is possible damage to the established Murray Hills community retaining wall and drainage concerns. 4, environmental impacts to existing mature and native trees and plants and animals. We request that you zone this SFR. Thank you, Celeste and Jeff. Gooses. So the Jean and Kay Kniflefler, they are located at 3080 Lake Osborne Drive, number 110. They're very concerned about the rezoning request made by Sunset Property. There are numerous reasons for this rezoning. It's inappropriate, unsound, and unsafe. Single egress and ingress is inadequate for the volume of traffic. The retaining wall bordering Murray Hills is old and not built to handle properties above it. The elevation of the property, which is much higher than Murray Hills, will generate water runoff that is not accommodated for in the wall bordering Murray Hills, making it a safety hazard. The location of the property significantly above Murray Hills will have a big impact on the residents of Murray Hills who border that property, as their privacy and security will be greatly impacted. The property will have more dwellings, more people, more cars, and completely change the landscape of the entire area and create more noise, more congestion, and many more environmental issues. So next we have Eugene and Jan Senstackton. Takes one. She cannot understand why the Lake Worth Beach Planning and Zoning Board will want to destroy the neighborhood by rezoning the Sunset property. The surrounding residents have previously voiced their strong opposition to this, and there is no reason to rezone the property to SFTF 14. A change in zoning would negatively impact the established neighborhood, mostly one-story, two-family homes, mostly one-story, single-family homes, and the Murray Hills over 55 community. They would be subject to increased traffic with only one entrance for egress and ingress. Water drainage runoff from the elevation of the property, already an issue, would be exacerbated, as some Murray Hills buildings are just a few feet from the retaining wall of the property. Murray Hills and surrounding homes take pride in the community and treasure our quality of life. This proposed change would decrease the value of our homes, with lack of privacy and allowing our beautiful neighborhood to become another overdeveloped, crowded housing project. We have previously protested against this proposed zoning change and made very clear that we're against it. Why is this proposal being reevaluated yet again? And we have Gretchen Firo, 3280 Lake Osborne Drive. I ask that they kindly consider the impact of the surrounding residents, especially the residents of Murray Hills condos, where she's a resident. I'm extremely concerned about the proposed change in zoning that you're about to address. We understand growing cities need to allow for healthy development, and it seems apparent that this parcel of land will eventually be built upon. We are concerned that SFTF 14 is extreme and excessive, and implore the board to consider limiting the zoning to match the residential zoning found in surrounding neighborhoods. Consider these issues. Small landlocked parcel, only 4.1 acres. Limited ingress and egress, one entrance, impact on safety and traffic flow. A 50-year-old, 20-foot tall retaining wall is designed to maintain single-family farmette may be compromised during construction. It is the highest spot of land in the area with 30-foot difference to the top of the condos to the top of the property. Even at our pre-development stage, the water runoff has been a big issue. Old growth trees are important for the environment and maintaining soil stability. Quality of life and the home values for existing neighbors will be negatively impacted. This is clearly an example of spot zoning, especially if SFTF 14 is approved. We appreciate your volunteer efforts and interest in the community. Please listen to the people who represent you and direct the zoning to read more reasonable maximum number of homes. I do have one in favor. Just warning. All right, so we're gonna go with Janice Keogh, 3200 Lake Osborne Drive, apartment 106. Thank you, board members, for your service. This is being sent in opposition to the proposed zoning changes to the above property. The impact that the residents of this area will be subject to are overwhelming traffic, noise, water runoff, environmental issues, destruction of fauna, birds, critters, and last but definitely as important, the height of possible future structures if zoned as requested. With all due respect, I ask the board to please take all these concerns to heart in making your decision. Yvonne Harmon. 2840 Lake Osborne Drive, number 203. They've attended several board meetings in the past, expressing deep concern about the future of the property and disappointed that the board rulings haven't put the issues to rest, and here we are again. Specifically, the current request to rezone, which could ultimately result in future requests for high density development, then the area can responsibly support. The concerns center around nuanced characteristics of this particular 4.8 acre property, not located in an open area where multiple egress approaches are possible to ensure safety both in traffic flow and in emergency situations. Thus, a single egress index not only affects the future of the residents, but also existing residents in a negative and dangerous manner. The elevation of the property in relation to the surrounding area is also a deep concern, with an aging wall that holds the elevated soils from sliding onto Murray Hill site, not to mention water retention and other soil elevation issues. Should development on the site not be carefully and responsibly managed, this wall with the drainage and significant disruption pressure will not continue to provide the retention it has for 5 decades. Although the current request for rezoning this property hasn't yet stated actual plans to later request higher density, proving SFTF 14 at this time does allow that possibility in the future. Current zoning class in this property is not excessive in density for future development, making the need for rezoning unnecessary. As a resident of Lake Osborne, I welcome the idea of homes being built on the property if the number and the placement and associated infrastructures are responsibly managed. Robert Rising of 3240 Lake Osborne Drive, number 105, would like the commission to be aware of special circumstances surrounding the property and how it affects Murray Hills. They're substantially lower than the property, and runoff from too many residents would surely cause a problem for our decades-old retaining wall. Furthermore, with one road in traffic will be an even larger, bigger headache for residents that surround the single-family zoning should be maintained for this property. It's far too small to stack multiple residences in there. There's old growth woods there that we enjoy viewing. Lake Worth Beach is a special place, and you should consider the opinions of the existing populace and not just deep-pocketed developers. Carol Machowski and Philip Machowski. They have, of 3360 Lake Osborne Drive, apartment 111. They've attended most of the meetings. They spend fall and winter here. Attended most of the meetings and quite frankly, don't believe it's come up again. There's a lot of concern for the limited infrastructure to handle the high density development. The integrity of the retaining wall and the costs associated with the failure of the wall would be astronomical. The height differential of the property and surrounding properties would make water runoff an issue. As we all know, our storms are getting bigger and the associated increase of runoff could be catastrophic. The one ingress that is associated with the property would create traffic issues for the neighboring block with narrow streets. There's a really sincere interest in developing a single family development, then there's no need for a zoning change. It feels like a backdoor avenue for a developer to get the change and then go to high density. Raymond and Susan Ludwig of 3402 Cynthia Lane, Building 23, Unit 110. They've lived there since February of 2001 and made an additional investment in the condo and have no plans to sell it. We have many concerns that there's certain other residents will address the fact that we are directly adjacent to the property separated by a 50-year-old retaining wall, and downhill from the project, drainage, integrity of the wall, and noise pollution are major concerns. It was previously a small farm, site is only 4.1 acres with one access point. The retaining wall's construction was not intended to support the construction and retention of higher density housing. It was not intended for increased traffic movement. And we are somewhat confused as to what density the owner is requesting. When I hear the request for 16 single-family homes coupled with SFTF 14 zoning, SFTF 14 zone would support additional density and two-family residences on the site. The increased water movement coupled with loss of green space replaced with macadam to support 16 single-family homes or more would be devastating to the retaining wall and downhill residents. We have asked the developer for an engineering study on the wall. This was denied. This makes me question the integrity of the other projects he has managed. The study must be done. SFTF 14 zoning should not be allowed. Even a proposal of 16 homes under SFR zoning seems too dense for the site. Rhonda Reagan, building number 6, number 111. She's a condo owner at Murray Hills and doesn't want home building on the Sunset property due to the probability of flooding Murray Hills and additional traffic on Lake Osborne Drive. If homes are built, it should be at the lower density. If the homes are built closer to Sunset Drive, the woodsy area bordering Murray Hills can be left intact and have eco-friendly trails added for the homeowners and not affect Murray Hills. Roland Renfro.
He's actually on Zoom.
Okay, so I'll hold that one for later. Benedict Ives, this is to advise you the extreme concern regarding the above referenced upcoming issue at 826. As a retired Murray Hills owner and year-round resident, I would request that you seek the absolute minimal development for this 4-acre parcel with only one egress. Updated traffic studies for the Lake Osborne Drive and surrounding area must be a consideration. The greatest liability and fear catastrophe lies in the potential water drainage impact on the 50-year-old retaining wall, which was not designed to withstand the current unknown runoff of the densely packed homes. While the right and need to develop the parcel is intelligently is certainly understandable, we residents of Murray Hills are horrified at how detrimental to our community this may be. All things can be achieved with proper balance and consideration. Kathleen Richard, 3200 Lake Osborne, Unit 203. As a resident of Murray Hills Condo Association, I'm writing to express a concern. Sunrise property would negatively impact our Murray Hills property by putting pressure on our already taxed retaining wall, create more traffic congestion, obscure our current views, and encroach on our privacy. We are a large community with over 500 units, so the impact will be felt by many. Please consider these factors before making any decision that will affect our quality of life. Chad Ruhlander and Brittany Katz, 2022 Collier Avenue. They live within 400 feet of Sunset and are directly impacted by this proposed rezoning. Adding 56 units will bring a lot more traffic, parking issues, noise, and affect our overall quality of life. We also worry it could change the overall feel of the quiet neighborhood and put extra strain on local roads and services. Lori Lamb, 3320 Lake Osborne Drive. She is an owner at Murray Hills Condo. As you know, the property has many concerns about allowing Sunset property for the rezoning. Here are some of the concerns. 4-acre site only has single ingress egress and there's a concern with the traffic generated by so many units. The small property is unusually high elevation like any other city in the city of Lake Worth Beach. This creates an unsafe infrastructure which will negatively impact Murray Hills regarding water runoff and a retaining wall not built for the size of development. Concerned about an increase in lighting pollution as well as traffic and noise. The small cul-de-sac is not equipped for development of that kind proposed. It will disrupt the lives of surrounding single-story homes as well as a condo property. Concerned about expressed about the loss of majestic shade trees and the destruction of old, quiet neighborhoods. Lake Worth Beach will find its charm eroded with the infrastructure and quality of life. Please take heed and don't allow this to be overrun by the greed of a developer who does not live here. I choose this town as a place to homestead specifically because of its commitment to remaining unique Florida town and unlike any other. Carol Castanguay, 2840 Lake Osborne Drive, Part 103. Every morning she looks up at the beautiful Smith property and its huge elegant trees and sees how close the retaining wall is between them and their property and the pool. Buildings 18 and 19 is a stone's throw. We already have issues with water runoff from that property. Changing the zoning could mean destruction of the pool, buildings 18 and 19 in effect 513 owners of Murray Hills. Please protect us from the zoning change, which would invite even further destruction. Nothing would stop a developer from making something even bigger. This developer has proven he is unwilling to bond that eventuality. In addition to those major issues, there are others as well. This is why so many cars, already crowded streets, no traffic study has been done since COVID, and 6th Avenue construction completed. We keep fighting this zoning battle every few months. I believe I know if you give an inch to a builder, he'll wiggle a mile. I'm writing, this is Joan Coons, 3280 Lake Osborne Drive, 205, expressing concern and opposition to the proposed project. Believes the development of more than single family homes will be detrimental to the area. I'm sure you've all heard the concerns, so I'll not express them in detail, but that would include removal of trees, vegetation, soil erosion, and wall integrity to protect Murray Hills traffic in the neighborhood and safety of access in and out. I have a very long comment. Hold on. Marilyn Moore, 3280 Lake Osborne Drive. Appreciate your consideration for us living in the neighborhood. We would like this to be zoned with the least amount of buildings. There is only one entrance and a retaining wall of 16 feet, with this property having an elevation of 49 feet. Thank you. Kathy Goldsworthy. Murray Hills, Building 3, Unit 211. I'm ready to ask to consider the information concerning your community. Water runoff is a big issue. Property is being so much higher than ours. We have a good friend in Building 18, and all the owners bordering the property will be at risk. Another issue of safety is a retaining wall. The new pressure from the proposed construction again puts the community at risk. The other issues of annoyance, like increased traffic and noise and the invasion of privacy, remain, but I am most concerned that our properties will be severely affected in a very damaging way. The small 4.1 acre property with limited access is not conducive to the number of proposed sites. Please vote against this and save Murray Hills from damage and property evaluation. Susan and John Hare, 3120 Cynthia Lane, Unit 101. They strongly oppose the development. It was essentially in their backyard. It's directly behind their unit. Any development on the higher elevation property, especially the higher density, mine with 2 stories, will affect the privacy, lifestyle, and living environment as we know it in a negative manner. The development cannot be stopped, and we request the development be limited to single-family residential zoning, and only 1-story residences buildings be built to lessen the impact on our property. It will strongly affect the value of their property, the privacy and quietness they now enjoy, and the rear patio will be threatened with that residential development on Smith property. The resale value of our unit will be negatively compromised if the Smith property project moves forward. How will we be compensated for the loss? We ask you please don't approve the higher zoning. There are concerns regarding the structural integrity of the wall, as well as the water runoff, and how will the developer mitigate noise and privacy issues to those people living immediately on the other side of the wall. Also, increased traffic issues. Don't approve the higher density zoning SFTF 14 for this property. For all the above concerns. Henry and Vicky Cooper, owner of 210 in Building 21 and owner of 2011 in Building 22 at Murray Hills. They were drawn to the purchase because it's an old Florida quiet and calm neighborhood. Pleasantly surprised to see the hillside property full of old trees and wildlife, giving visual health and serenity to the community. No high rises, no speed traffic, a small town flavor. Please consider the value of the lives of those of us who have been intentional about selecting and preferring an old Florida, this charming community with distinct characteristics. Please consider the zoning for the Sunset property at the minimum amount of development without loopholes for future additional development to ensure current lifestyle within the local community. I expressed concerns about the retaining wall, being able to support a new development, noise pollution, dislocation of wildlife, and we are a vulnerable older community of folks and heavily development adjacent to us makes us very vulnerable. Please protect us. Sandra Brancaleone. 3322 Cynthia Lane, apartment 205. This concern that says the density is disproportionate for the limited acreage, ingress and egress limitations with one in, one out. retaining wall concerns, water damage, water drainage, old growth trees, environmental impact, traffic and safety, quality of life and privacy, impact on home values, and spot zoning. Respects and requests the board to deny the proposed change. Greg Hensley of Murray Hills, no address given. Has questions about receiving a comprehensive subsoil investigation, understands a height restriction is in effect, has a detailed study been conducted for the traffic flow, has an environmental study of the property been completed and presented, has a study been conducted the wildlife habitat, how would drainage from the project be controlled? Increased noise pollution is a concern for the surrounding area, and a major part of the property is surrounded by a retaining wall from Murray Hills. How will the wall be affected by the construction activities? Lorraine Tapolini, 2840 Lake Osborne Drive, building 15204. She's a year-round resident. The higher density zoning for the parcel will be detrimental to the safety of the community, and the wall was never intended to withstand the pressures of dense development, construction vehicles, and uprooting of large trees. Any development over the lowest possible rate has already congested area will bring additional traffic. Even more concerning is potential delay for emergency vehicles response time. The influx of traffic would significantly increase the risk of accidents, putting the lives of our residents in jeopardy. Another traffic concern is the area of one narrow ingress to egress. Has there been a study made? Why would anything other than single family homes be approved for such an area? It cannot support a denser zoning development. There are also significant environmental impacts. Where are the environmental studies for the property? As was brought up in the past, old growth trees and wildlife, including gopher tortoises and other endangered species. The green space of this area also affects the climate of the neighborhood. Increased development equals increased temperatures. Strongly urge you to reconsider the proposal and vote against the development until further studies are done at the very least. Property should not be zoned for anything greater than single family residence, allowing for no more than 7 single family residences per acre. Jorma Peltola, 3362 Cynthia Lane, Unit 104. Is understanding that the property is seeking new zoning designation. As a year-round resident, he's developed an appreciation for the community, including parks, beaches, and retention of Old Town neighborhoods. Needless to say, Lake Osborne parks and surrounding neighborhoods are unique in many respects. Zoning designation options, privately initiated zoning map proposition singularly focuses on single-family, two-family SFTF 14. Should the developer and the city consider alternate zoning options? Would be better synergize with the adjacent community. Why just SFTF 14? Topic expresses concerns with topographical height differences between the properties of Murray Hills and the subject property. And as well as increased traffic flows and with the single egress, and privacy concerns between lower level Murray Hill and higher level Sunset Drive dwellings. And I have a very lengthy 10-page anatomy of the staff report. I don't remember the gentleman's name. So he has just gone through and addressed each of the staff report recommendations, the project description, and made a comment. And he is also expressing concern that the zoning map amendment is unnecessary. And that you don't have to use SFTF 14. It's not the only option. And I will include it in the minutes for future reference if you'd like to read it. It's quite extensive. That leaves me with Mr. Redford, who's on the thing, and one more, and I'm gonna Do you want to speak for yourself?
Yes, Greg's
Okay.
here.
I'm here.
And you're here?
Outside.
Fine. So let me do what I have right here. So Mr. Redford is going to speak for himself. Take care of that. And as I told you, I do have one in favor of, and this is from Brian Seymour of Gunster. What used to be Gunster, not anymore, Gunster. As you're aware, the firm represents Sunset Holdings, and the property is a subject of the application to rezone the property to place an appropriate city zoning on the property to which Sunset has consented. We urge the city to approve the proposed rezoning, which will allow for a low-density environmentally sensitive development by the property by the applicant. Since this property was annexed into the city, has not had any zoning categories assigned to it. The city has assigned the property medium density residential land use on the future land use pursuant to the policy. And MDR has three compatible zoning categories: SFT, F14, MF20, and neighborhood commercial. As all development orders, which includes zoning of property, must be consistent with the comprehensive plan, one of the three identified zoning categories must be applied to the property. He's applied for the least dense zoning available for the property, which is SFT F14, which provides for only 14 units per acre. As such, unless the city proposes the property to develop with more units than the applicant is proposing, SFT F14 is only zoning that is consistent with the land use designation. We understand that some of the neighbors in the surrounding developments, which contain the same land use designation as the property, may not desire any development of the property or less development than the zoning categories permitted by the property land use designation. However, regardless of neighborhood objection, Florida law is clear that all development must be consistent with the comprehensive plan. As the applicant is requesting the least dense available zoning category, this is the best option available to follow the requirements of Florida law in a manner that gives those neighbors the least available development. So then we'll have Greg Richter next.
Good evening.
Yes,
Sure.
it's under the public's
Public comment.
public.
I missed you calling my name. I was outside. I
Okay.
was on anyway, I'm Greg Richter, 1202 South Palmway. I live on the other end of town, but this affects me because I live in a single family residential neighborhood. And when this first came up to this board, one of the things we heard, well, we can't change the zoning. It's single family residential. You can't have spot zoning. So my concern is, are we going to open Pandora's box to have more single family residential neighborhoods have changes like this? That concerns me. The other thing is Florida has a new program, I believe it's called Live Well, which allows Live Local, thank you, which allows someone to come in and build up to the height of the nearest highest building, which would be the towers. The only thing that you can do to stop this as a city is if it's a single family residential, you can't do it. So that to me is a big concern, especially since we've now seen the property has been up for sale. So who knows who's going to be actually the owner of this thing once this is done. I'm please asking you, do not approve this and let the commission, make that decision, because I'm really worried what we're opening up here is far beyond just what these folks are going through. And the fact that a year ago, thought we were done, and here we are back again. So thank you.
Thank you very much.
Adrian and Jason Lopiccolo.
Please say your name.
Hi, my name is Adrian Trent Lopiccolo. I don't know. I sent my stuff in. I don't know how I didn't get ready. I emailed it in. I'm an affected party. I live on 2024 Collier Avenue. My grandparents used to live on Quail Trail. They built their house in 1962. They then retired to Murray Hills. I'm very invested in this particular neighborhood. I've lived here third generation. It's been a quiet, single family home. That's why I chose to raise my kids here. We walk down to the lake, we walk around, and things have changed. There's more people living in the houses on my street than when I grew up. We live on the Collier that is unincorporated. We don't have sidewalks. Now, the houses that have sold, and we have great neighbors. I love my street, but as more people are living in each houses, our street is at night, our cars parked on both sides. You can't really, you have to carefully drive through. With a big influx of cars in our neighborhood, it's going to be disastrous of them trying to get down our street to get to the other way to get to 6th Avenue, which is already a shortcut. So I'm concerned about, you know, just my property value, my quality of life, and just the characteristic and charm that is my neighborhood. And I also want to bring to your attention that we've come out many times for years to try to protect our neighborhood. And the property owner who, as long as I've lived in here for 50 years, never lived at that property. Carol Smith lived there. I played on that property. She was very nice. He couldn't even stay for the whole meeting. So that's how invested he is to this. And the person who wants to develop it, when we had neighborhood meetings, pretty much already told us when things didn't go his way and he got spicy that he was going to do whatever he wanted. So it didn't matter what we thought. He was going to do what he wanted and put as many people in there as he could. So their concern is all for money, and they do not care about our community. We all keep showing up, so I hope you respect our neighborhood and keep it safe and nice and welcoming to the people who live there. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
And then Mr. Renfro, if you would like to give your public comment. Oh, you're muted. Please unmute.
You're on mute, sir.
Can you hear me now?
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I had a long one wrote, but I'm going to condense it down because it's getting late in the evening for us and everything. I'm Roland Renfro. I live at 3280 Lake Osborne Drive, Building 3, 101. I'm a second generation family in there. I've been an owner for 22 years. We've talked about the wall, so I'm going to move on down to one of the bigger concerns is the drainage is another concern. The developer has stated he would use catch basins for runoff drainage. If there is a large rainfall, the runoff would flood the condos near the wall as well as our maintenance shop. 8 to 10 years ago, we got a 20-inch rain, if some of you remember that. There was water at least 6 inches deep running down our streets. Can you imagine what that would do in our condos and the expense it would cost to fix the drainage from the standing water? Typical Florida rainstorms flood rapidly, not allowing for immediate drainage. With the elevation of the Sunset property as much higher than the surrounding communities, runoff is a certainty. Zoning the property SFR for single-family homes would be a better option. It would also be sufficient to suit the current suggested site plan, but SF-T14 would allow much more than he's requesting. The surrounding area is single-family homes. Why do we need to have homes 15 to 25 feet taller than the nearby homes? I also hope that the zoning commission has their thinking hats on and not looking for more tax dollars for the city. This should be zoned SF7. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
No other parties.
Just state your name and address, please.
I will as soon as I get to the microphone. Heard you say it 100 times already. Hi, my name is June Bingham. I'm at 5438 Lake Osborne Drive. I'm the vice president of the Lake Osborne Civic Association. We are in solidarity with the Lake Rollo. I'll just say it that way. I've heard a lot of things tonight, mostly the same thing. I do have one thing I want to ask is the roads that go in and out of that whole area, there's no trucks allowed. So the heavy equipment that's going to go in to do any kind of construction will damage the roads, the shaking of the houses, damages the houses, it damages the water lines that are underneath the roads. So there's a lot of damage other than everything that's going on that will happen with all that heavy equipment coming in. We also have, besides all of the rigmarole of traffic and everything else that we already have an issue with, we have an issue with what's happening with the hunting, everything else that goes in over in John Prince Park that invites other people in. So we're trying to keep the whole neighborhood as peaceful as we possibly can. And that's what all of this is about. Has nothing to do with going against anybody. It has to do with our neighborhood, keeping our neighborhood safe, keeping everything in and around that neighborhood safe. But also we need to make sure that, these roads, that's going to fall back on Lake Worth. So we have I'm pretty sure over 200 years worth of people that live in Lake Worth and have paid their taxes here and have done what they need to do in Lake Worth. So thank you. And we look forward to you guys supporting us as well. Thank you.
I think that's it. Yes, sir. No, 1 moment, sir.
No, I was just gonna ask if I could have a chance to.
No, we have another chance, sir. Just state your name and address, please.
Yes, thank you. My name is Florian Nisip. I live at 2161 Mark Drive, corner of Mark and Sunset. And I'm like 400 feet from the property. Live there for 30 years. Me and my wife walk all the time to the lake. We're living on a county property, so there are no sidewalks. So our sidewalks are the streets. The street of Sunset, it's our sidewalk. When the bridge was closed, it was very hard to maneuver because of traffic. So I can imagine a high density will definitely affect our quality of life that we establish in 30 years. In so many years, everybody living, it will definitely change the neighborhood. So I'm asking you, please keep the single family 7. It just makes sense for all of us to keep the same look of the neighborhood, to have the same homes with backyards, with just like the way we're living. It's just, we don't want to see condos. That's why we moved there. That's why we live there. That's why we raised our kids, playing on a learning how to drive the bicycle on a Sunset, and it's going to be difficult with a high intensity, having condos, definitely more traffic. It's not fitting our neighbor. It's not like if it would have been a main street that it goes in and out from the main street, that would have made sense to have a condo in there. But to put in the middle of a residential is just, I can't see it. So I'm respectfully asking to keep lower density and ask for listening to all the neighbors that came here tonight in the favor of keeping the single family 7. Thank you.
Thank you. So, does the city staff have any questions of the applicant or the affected parties?
No.
No?
Well,
Mr.
you
Waters?
skipped over the questions that the board might have.
No, that's
That's the next one. That's right after. There's a whole list that we're going down. That's coming, Lauren. We'll get there. Okay. Does the applicant have any question of city staff or affected parties?
Yes.
So more than questions, they're just responses to what's been said, and I've heard everything and wrote it down, and I thought address this up front and probably because these people had prepared their speeches and the things that they had to say prior to maybe them seeing what my responses would be, that's why some of these comments would be there. So I wanted to just make it very clear that number one, I changed plans on this because I heard everybody. Not because I'm trying to do anything different or change anything. It's just because I've listened and I've been doing it for 4 years and I hear what people have to say. So that's the number one reason why I changed the plans to what they are now, which is the 16 lots. Number two, the property was listed for sale 2 years ago, I had no idea it was still on there. And that was a different time and a different situation when we were looking at 42 townhomes, and I needed to bring in a partner in order to do that because of the 42 townhomes. So in the meantime, what I've done is I've met with two local builders, Collins Builders, who's 2 blocks from here, and Stewart and Shelby, which is another custom builder, which actually built Sarah Malega's commissioner's home. So I've met with them about the new designs. So, and we'll probably pick one of them to partner with as well as a GC because they're local. So, just try to address that. With regard to drainage, I am an engineer. We did do a drainage study. The property drains from south to north. The retaining walls on the south side of the property, that's why it's still there. If the property drained a different way, it wouldn't be there anymore. The sand and the soils have been tested. And I said sand because that's what the soils are. Extremely sandy. So everything just drains down. The runoff that you guys are getting is because the property has not been developed. When we develop the property, the Water Management District will require us to contain every bit of water on our site. So it will actually improve the flooding issues that you're now experiencing. It will definitely improve them. So, and that's a requirement for us when we have to get our water management district. We can't do anything until we get, the appropriate permits. So hopefully that will address the drainage issue. I've addressed the wall. The height of the wall is 14 feet. That is the highest point on the property because it does drain from south to north. You can see that from the LiDAR that they did. It does show that. And we're completely aware of that. And that's why we designed it with the dry retention along the sides to absorb that water. And in the 2 larger dry retention areas in the front of the property, which is the low spot abutting the single family with 130 feet of buffer there. So we did accommodate that. We did do the engineering. We did pay for it. And I signed off on it as an engineer as well. So environmental studies, all were done. They were done for bugs and bunnies. They were done for birds. They were done for gopher tortoises. They were done for burrowing owls. They were done for everything. It's clean. If anything has showed up, those were done about 1.5 years ago. So if anything showed up, we do have to update those every year. So that will be done prior to the site plan, which is what we are supposed to do and will do. Traffic study. I get it. There's one way in and one way out. That's why we went to 16 lots. SF7 would give us 28 lots, which is interesting because with the setbacks and the minimum lot sizes for both SFR, which is there's no longer SF7, it's just SFR now, by the way. So they both have the same exact requirements for lot sizes. So our actual number of lots is being limited by 2 things. It's being limited by the minimum lot requirements, which are exactly the same for what everybody's asking for. SFTF 14 has exactly those same requirements. And then the drainage that we need on the property limits how many lots we can put. As you guys have pointed out, we need all of this retention that I'm showing on our plan. So we have gone from 42 units since I started working on the property, which was what was suggested to me by the landowner, all the way down now to 16 because we've heard people and we've listened. Not because we have an ulterior motive or we're trying to do something different, because the lot size dimensions prevent us from having an ulterior motive with the number of lots that can be put on there. And so does the drainage requirements that the Water Management District will have for us. So I agree with your sign for lower density. I've heard you. I've listened. I'll hold it as well. It's not allowed under the current land use. That's a great question. It's not allowed under the current land use. That's it. It's just that simple. As the attorney pointed out, the current land use of MDR allows for 3 zonings. SFTF 14 is the lowest density, but it has the same minimum lot requirements as SF7. And that's in the land development regulation. So, and William and his staff can confirm that. So do you have any questions for me now?
Thanks.
Thank you.
Hold on. This.
Sure.
Is it time for our questions?
No, hold on.
Oh, wait.
Hold on. The affected parties can come up with a second. Hold on. Yeah, we're taking everybody back.
Okay.
Yes, sir.
You want me to? No,
That was your turn.
I can answer questions if.
I don't have a question. I have a statement.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right.
Okay. Do the affected parties have any questions of the applicant or the city staff?
Should I just stand here?
Yes.
No.
Okay. So I'm so sorry. It's okay.
Ruth Lynch, 2802 Lake Osborne Drive. Mr. Rayleigh just stated that that ad was posted 2 years ago and wasn't taken down. And I have screenshots of it because it's not there. It was dated on the market 5/2/2025. And the description is 16 single-family home lots, Lake Worth Beach, 4.02 acres, $4 million. That is a new plan. That is the new plan before you. 2 years ago, it was 42 townhomes. So I beg to differ that it wasn't posted. This was not posted 2 years ago. This was posted several months ago and then removed when we called him and asked him, why is the property for sale? Okay.
And that was because I'm trying to work with a single family general contractor now, not that I need a partner with. So, and my brother updated that listing, and after he updated it. And why? I called them when they told me that it's still there, and I said, no, it shouldn't be there now, because I haven't identified the partners.
Understand.
But I don't say it was 2 years ago. It was also listed 2 years ago.
Okay, we don't need the back and forth, guys, please. Let us move on with the hearing. We want to hear from all of you, but you gotta let us move on.
Everybody's getting their chance. We have to go in step. Okay, any other affected parties have any questions of the city staff or the applicant? Yes, please.
Yes. Sorry, you want to see. Oops. People no, I got it. I got it.
Hi, Nikki Lulis again, 821 Sunset. Can you explain why it can't be single family 7? Because I keep hearing that.
That is for the staff.
Oh, staff.
Which is your time to ask. Mr. Waters would be so kind to
Well,
respond.
As was remarked, you can pull that up on the screen. Under our comprehensive plan, we only have 3 implementing districts for medium density residential. That's SFR 14, SFTF 14, MF 20, or NC. As you may recall, several weeks ago, it was brought before the Planning and Zoning Board a request to add SFR as an implementing district for this medium density residential, and this board recommended to not move forward with that change. So your recommendation of not including SFR as an implementing district for the medium density residential is going to the commission next week.
Understood. Yeah.
And is it true that if your medium density residential comp plan, basically, if it's SF14, then they can qualify for the transfer of developments rights program?
I wrote our transfer development right program for Lake Worth Beach. The only way to qualify for a transfer development right program in Lake Worth Beach is to come in as a planned development, which west of 95 has to be 5 acres. This is
So it can't happen.
Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Okay, yeah, it can't happen.
Okay. Yes, sir.
Yeah, Scott Lee on behalf of Murray Hills. So I have a question for Mr. Waters. Is it true that the board can attach conditions to the adoption of a zoning ordinance, namely a restriction on the number of units that could go into a particular parcel? Is that permissible for the board to consider?
Nancy Stroud, who's a well-known managed attorney, and I wrote our land development regulations, which were adopted in 2013 in August. I'm not aware under Florida statute and the growth strategies legislation there that we can limit and say you can have this zoning, but you can only do this many units. I think, though, that if a site plan were to come in and environmental issues, infrastructure issues, other demands that were placed on the property, that would limit the ability for that site to maximize the zoning, that during that site plan process, the number of units could be restricted that may be less than the density, because how our code is written, and this happens in most cities, it's almost impossible to do a straight by right zone to maximize the zoning, because if you do 7 lots per acre and you add in the roads and stuff, you can't really get there because our minimum lot size is 6,000 square feet or 5,000 square feet. It used to be 7,500. It's theoretically possible, but the road dimensions that are required by the city and also by the county limit the site to being able to be developed at 28 lots on that 4 acres.
Okay, so what I'm hearing though is the city is unaware of any authority that prohibits the board from attaching that type of condition. You're not aware of enumerating authority, but you're not aware of anything that prohibits it.
Our lovely attorney here who's been by my side for
So it was a very powerful question. Knocked out the lights.
sorry, sometimes the city tests a generator on Wednesday nights when we have meetings. I think we kind of have to wait till we get back online. There we are.
Yeah.
So you can pose a question to Mr. Tresipia has the question.
The question was legally, is there any statute or law that exists that prohibits this board from adopting this zoning ordinance with the condition that only a certain number of homes or lots be encompassed within the parcel?
Yes, I'd have to turn the question around and say, is there any law that you can tell us that allows that? If they,
Well-
is it prohibited? I'd like to memo some authority because I'm not aware of that being allowed. So if there's some memo that you want to put together that says it's allowed and your client's willing to indemnify and defend the city, if they do that based on your recommendation, that's a whole different conversation. But I'm not aware of what you're talking about at this level, as well as at the site plan level, perhaps.
Well, certainly we're allowed to, the board is allowed to attach conditions, quote unquote, right? I mean, is there a list of permissible conditions that can be attached or not be attached, or is it just something that the board can curate when adopting an ordinance?
Well, there are some conditions proposed to be attached to this ordinance, and most of them are already covered by other aspects of either the strategic plan, the comprehensive plan, or the LDRs, or implementing the site plan that eventually will come out of a zoning. As Mr. Redley mentioned, and it's come up a lot, we will have to deal with the drainage. The building official has already gone on record that we will need a indemnification and a bond posted to ensure the integrity of the wall stays in place if that site were to be developed. There are probably agreements that will have to be created between the city and the county because the road to the site is not a city road. And the road that little road hits is not a city road. So traffic performance requirements from the county will have to be met, as well as those of the city. So there's a lot that will be required just as of the site plan review process. And I can't recall how many different sections get hit by a site plan. Maybe Annie can help me because we just went through a major one recently. But there's like 30 different categories of things that have to be addressed in order to get a site plan reviewed. And it's reviewed by 7 different departments at the city, plus the fire, Palm Beach County Fire Rescue. We invite the Lake Course Drainage District, which may have some jurisdiction here, South Florida Water Management District. There are a lot of entities that would have to be involved in getting a site plan approved before anyone could ever pull a building permit.
Even the health department. So, yeah.
Have you ever entered into an agreement with a community within the city where the community would be indemnifying the city over conditions attached to a zoning ordinance?
I think my real question to you was, do you have any authority to support what you're saying? You're asking me for authority to take this position, and to me, your theory is a little bit out there. So if you're going to go down that path, we need to see some authority that says that.
Well, I'd be happy to have that discussion with you, but I think I'm getting the answer to my question, that there's nothing blocking this board from attaching a certain type of condition to the adoption of the zoning ordinance.
Not aware of their authority to do that. I keep asking you, tell us what authority allows that. You're putting forth a novel position. What authority do you have to allow that? That, to my knowledge, and Williams laws, that's not been done by this board
Okay,
before.
well, let me ask it this way. Is it true that the board can attach conditions to the adoption of the zoning ordinance?
At think William already answered that.
Right, the answer is yes, correct. So what is the list of categories of conditions that, which can apply to the adoption of zoning ordinance?
Again, I don't think this is a courtroom where we're arguing the law, and I think we're getting off topic.
Also, you're getting into some sticky things like could be spot zoning and different things that happen. The zoning code
This
is
is-
set up by the city to be respected. You understand? So the way that William has put out, there's so many parts to it that we take in. Okay. What you're asking us is almost saying that you're asking us to make these type of decisions and to go down that path, which is something you really shouldn't be asking a board. Okay.
Well, the city commission can reject your conditions.
You can say whatever you want, but I can tell you right now, for you to tell this board what they have to do is not correct.
I'm not telling you to do anything. I'm an affected party. And I have the right to ask questions, sir.
That's all your question.
And that's all I'm doing. I'm not,
And they're answering your questions.
okay. But I didn't know there was a limited number of questions. Is there?
Let me interject is that most rezonings are taking an existing zoning and giving it a new zoning. That's usually accompanied with a site plan. What's unique about the situation is this property has no zoning at all, period. And there's no a site plan attached to it. We have done rezonings as this board has done in plan developments, which we've attached conditions that are associated with a specific site plan and a specific request for a rezoning or upzoning or plan development. They've done a couple of things. This one is unique as it's just a request to establish a zoning on which to base a development. And so, yes, a lot of things have happened if there's a project attached to it, but there isn't a project here for them to consider. All we're considering is we have to give them a zoning. Because we've been trying to get a zoning for 20 years.
Right. And I think the community understands that there's going to be some zoning that's assigned to this. I mean, that it's not about non-assigning zoning. It's about assigning the zoning that is particular to this, to the topography of the property. And I guess my question is, does the board have the authority to designate the zoning that's unique to this particular parcel in relation to the other surrounding communities?
The way you're phrasing it, I think the answer is no. That I think William's trying to say multiple times, what you're asking is appropriate at site plan. You're like a step ahead.
I'm asking about the zoning.
The city has zoning categories. I don't think this board has the authority to create a new category, which is what you're really asking for. You're saying, give us a new category that's not in the comprehensive plan and not in the zoning code. So, I'm not sure if I'm not understanding your question or if I'm, but I'm hearing you say site plan issues. I'm not hearing you really talk about.
Well, I think I'm asking it in the context of the zoning designation. All right. Thank you.
Yes.
Hi, Amy Mihalik. I live at 2032 Collier Avenue. My question is, like, if this zoning is not tied to any site plan, like if this zoning gets passed, then there is the possibility that they could just sell the property and develop it at the maximum. But if the true intention is to build 16 single-family homes, why is this meeting for a zoning instead of a future land use change? Because if he can only apply for, one that's in the future land use, but his proposed site plan is 16, can he submit a future land use adjustment instead to get the zoning that actually fits the site plan?
Someone can apply for a future land use change. Being in an SFTF zoning district does not require two-family residential development. It allows for single-family residential development, nor does it require someone to max it out. What they're missing is zoning, which is why they're applying for zoning.
Right. But again, that zoning that they're applying for, they could get the zoning and then it could be developed at the maximum.
Yes. This is not a site plan approval. They need zoning.
Right. So could they submit a future land use change instead?
In theory, the city could not initiate it because the Florida legislature, in their infinite wisdom, has preempted cities from doing any activities that decrease the value of property, take development rights away, or reduce the developability of property. So the city could not initiate a change of the future land use to a low density residential, but if the property owner wanted to do that, we could entertain it.
Okay. In good faith, I think that would be the right thing for them to do. Thank you.
Hey, do we have any other affected parties with questions for the applicant or the staff?
Sorry, I stole it.
Go for it.
Yeah, as I mentioned, I support it being developed. I guess the failure from my perspective is the future land use, and somebody made just a big boo-boo on that just by looking at a block and saying, well, this is what it is, without actually considering it. So how do we get that fixed in the most appropriate manner? Because as others have said, we don't feel comfortable as a community just saying, okay, open it up to this zoning because it fits a previous mistake. From my perspective, there's a current major mistake, flaw in the current future land use. I look at that map and I see somebody just drew a circle and said, okay, this is multifamily. It would make sense if it was part of Murray Hills and you were developing more of Murray Hills, right? And you had the 7 entrances there, but this is totally landlocked elevation wise in every other way. So how does that get corrected in an expedient manner? Because I'm not one to say, you know, I'm a contractor. I install drainage systems. I know all about all this stuff, but you know, I don't want to sit here and say, have any kind of potential at all that this could become more units, changes hands, somebody in the city decides, oh yeah, actually more units would be nice, more tax base or whatever, you know, nobody has a crystal ball to predict the future. So my question is like how, and I don't want to hold the guy back or these people back from being able to build on the property that they purchased for millions of dollars or whatever. If it fits what the community want, you know, if the community agrees that it should be single family and for the most part. So how do we fix that? So, you know, there's a long way to ask my question. How do we fix that in an expedient manner so that they can progress in what my opinion is the correct way? Because I think everyone in the neighborhood agrees that was a big boo-boo on the future land use mapping. That was just an oversight, and I get it. People are busy, a lot to do. Circle it out, multifamily, but it's not.
So some points of clarification there. Single family, 2-family is not considered a multifamily district. There is no expedient process for a future land use change. That is a lengthy process that goes to the state multiple times for their review. We cannot guarantee that the state would approve of a change to single family residential on a site that is surrounded on 3 sides by a multifamily zoning district. When it was given the MDR future land use designation in 2018, that went to the state. It was not someone just circling on a map willy-nilly and, you know, providing it by themselves. That was a process that went to the boards, the city commission multiple times, and to the state multiple times to be adopted. There is just no expedient way for a future land use change to happen quickly. It's a long state process.
Okay. Well, and I guess ultimately, once again, from that side, I feel really bad for the property owner, but I don't believe that we should be making this increased zoning when it doesn't fit. So that's it. That was my.
Yeah, I can answer that question. I mean, the minimum lot sizes prevents you from increasing the density. And that's the reality. The drainage and the minimum lot size requirements at SFTF 14, as William will say, you can't put more units on there, more lots on there. They don't fit.
Could you, that's a very important.
That's the most important
That's
thing.
very important. Just could you verify the fact that lot sizes would not probably entertain?
Well, that's where I'm at.
more,
I'm at 48.
Within the SF 14.
That's where I'm at.
Well, the lot sizes, whether they're SFR or SFR.
Waters is speaking, please.
Sorry.
Waters.
As Mr. Lee mentioned, the minimum lot sizes for width and depth and area are the same for SFR or SFTF 14. Even though the site plan shows 16 lots, if there were some creative other alternative way to deal with the runoff, which is required to be retained on site, and I forgot that it's 3 inches over I don't know how many hours, you could get a few more lots there, but you still have to deal with all the performance requirements, and the water retention has prevented lots of properties in Lake Forest Beach from being developed even close to their maximum potential. And you've experienced it yourself, having to deal with water retention on the projects that you've designed.
Yes.
And we have some pretty draconian water retention requirements in the city, and we're in flood zones, and we have drainage flow sheds, and some sites are just negatively impacted by those requirements, and you cannot get to the maximum density or the maximum number of lots that you could otherwise.
So, thank you very much.
I'm sorry to do this, guys.
Hmm.
Are you gonna recognize me? I have a short question for William.
I'm
I'm
gonna-
sorry, guys. And by the way, I have to get up at 4 a.m., so I'm killing myself basically. She's a registered.
Thank you. Kathleen McGivern, 2121 Collier Avenue. William, I have a it sounds stupid question. So there's, well, you won't give us one. Two questions. So there's two choices basically for this board to make tonight, right? 14 or the lower density single family. Is that correct?
If the board, based on the testimony and evidence provided, feels that they could support and it not be a legally challenged recommendation, they could recommend to the city commission SFR.
Thank you. So you have a choice, and I hope you'll do the one that benefits all your citizens. Thank you.
William, I need to clarify that. I need you to clarify that. So if we were suggesting an SFR 7, would we also be asking for the future land use to be changed to single family so that they are matching? Because the current medium density doesn't allow for single family in the medium density future land use, right?
Correct, technically. You are a board that can take in more legal documentation, evidence, and such provided at a public hearing than staff has access to. If you feel, based on the testimonies that have been given and the justifications provided, that you feel that SFR is appropriate and is in compliance with our comp plan and our LDRs, you can make that recommendation. But you're making a recommendation to the city commission. You're not making a final decision. Just keep that in mind.
It's just a recommendation.
But again, it would be a recommendation to continue having a future land use of medium density residential, but with a single family zoning.
If that's what you so choose to recommend, yes.
And these are the problems we had all over.
So yeah, we reviewed this last week, and the problem with that is that impacts the whole city in different areas of it that we didn't
And your
really want to do.
crisscrossing zone.
So the overall idea is you got the big bins of single family, medium density, high density, and within those you have the sub tiers. And kind of having crossover doesn't, you have areas that are planned to be medium density. So
if it helps you a little bit, we have large areas of the city that have single family residential zoning, but a future land use of medium density residential.
Yes.
Because the future land use was established in 2012. And so I'm sorry, I was out of the country when it happened. The future land uses for most of the city were established in 2012. In the intervening year, the commission and planning and zoning board at the time, which was still the combined historic preservation board, we downzoned much of the city, but left the future land use intact. So the single family residential zoning areas of the city got much bigger by about 20%. As an example, the multifamily 30 zoning was 2 blocks deep next to downtown. It's now 1. MF20 was 2, now it's 1. So there are areas that were made single family residential, but had a future land use of medium density. And that was the prerogative of the boards at the time and the city commission. And we've never brought back changing the future land use to specifically mention that SFR is a implementing district of our multifamily and our medium density residential zone, future land use districts. That's why that question was brought before you a little while ago, to sort of tidy up, provide some legal clarity. But you recommended what you did, and we'll move forward with that recommendation, and we'll see what the city commission does.
So I guess, are we at the stage of board comments?
Not yet.
Yeah, I jumped in there, but
No. I think we are. This is the next chapter. So, board comments are now.
I have a couple brief questions. So in the staff report, there's a state sentence here that says the property is proposed to be developed with 16 single family homes. That proposed development is not part of the subject request and will be subject to administrative review through the building permit process. I want to clarify that it's not just administrative review, that a site plan, because they would have to do a replat. They're going to have to do all this, would end up coming back as an actual formal site plan approval, not administrative approval, right?
Most likely not, because again, the state in its infinite wisdom requires that staff review plating. It is not processed to boards or the city commission anymore.
So if this was approved tonight, it's possible that they would not have to come back to any other hearings for site plan approval?
It is highly possible, yes.
And if it was approved as 16 lots, because this is a single family, 2-family district, they could potentially build duplexes on all 16 lots and end up with 32 units, correct?
Yes.
Okay. I think that's really all the questions that I had.
Any questions?
Yeah, just one question to the city. When you guys made the determination of the SFTF 14, was that from a presentation from the applicant?
So the city wasn't determining that this would be SFTF 14. That's what the applicant applied for. So just like anyone else would come in with an application, I want to do X, Y, Z, and the staff report analyzes their request. That's what we have here tonight too.
Okay.
There's a few interesting things that that are happening here. I do understand that that the parties are affected, and there is a running theme of displeasure with the redevelopment of the property. I get it. But at a certain point, there's a few things we need to look at. And number one, I'm hearing the minimum lot size and some of the things that are happening with the lot itself and the process, right? There are real things that limit the development of that lot within the building process, site plan approval, and everything else we have to do. The other thing I'm also hearing that the lowest that we could put at the moment without having to recommend something else, which would take us through all types of loops and hoops through in the zoning process, would be that this is the SF14 is the thing that really is sort of the lowest common denominator at this point. All right. So what's odd is that, these are the lowest things. And if you correct me, the SFR and the 14 now that they're asking for would be basically, they have the same requirement. Is that correct?
They essentially have the same requirement for lot size, lot dimensions.
Right.
The floor area ratio and lot coverages are a little higher under SFTF 14 than this single family, taking into consideration that you could put 2 units there versus 1.
I understand. But there are some limiting factors that are very similar. Is that correct? Yes. Okay. Those are my only things that I had.
So one more question on the site plan review, because I thought we had a whole lengthy conversation in one of the prior meetings just in the last couple of months where there was language with regards to clarifying kind of administrative approvals. And I remember us going back and forth about, is it more than 3 units or is it 3 units or more? And we were talking about in which districts site plans were required and which ones they weren't. And I thought the clarity was given that if it was more than 3 residential units, they always had to go for a site plan.
They do, but again, the state has preempted us in terms of the platting process. The site plan might end up coming back before you, but the platting in and of itself does not. So if an applicant wanted to wholesale develop this all at once, it would exceed the 7,500 square feet and it would come before you all for a site plan. But if it's platted through the state's process now and each individual lot is developed the individual building permit, it doesn't.
The drainage would have to be there still would be a permit to install the roads, the drainage, and that would be over 7,500 square feet. And wouldn't that require a permit and therefore a site plan? Like if you're doing the acreage and just cutting it up and each person was responsible for putting wouldn't be putting in their own drainage and their own, like, so I would think that it would still have to, I'm just trying to clarify if we approve it tonight, is there a chance that it doesn't come back for site plan? And I would think that
there is a chance that it may not come back before you. And there's a chance that it also will. I mean, I can't because I believe because we haven't had that formally submitted. The 16 acre or 16 lot site plan is conceptual. We have provided concierge review of it. The ownership of some of the retention areas and there are some dedications might have to go before a board in order and then be accepted by the city commission, which is outside of platting. The state wasn't real clear on what and we have to bring back, and you'll be seeing this soon, redoing our platting process in the LDRs. And Elizabeth Linehan, who you're familiar with, is going to be helping us write that up. But that process is been dictated, but we haven't worked out how that actually works. So I can't give you a black and white answer because there are things in flux from the state right now.
Okay. And
those things just went into effect July 1st. So
and to clarify, I know the answer to this, but just so it's on the record, there was brought up Live Local. The single family, two family 14 is not a mixed use district. And so Live Local does not apply and could not apply to this property.
And we have no mixed use zoning anywhere near it. That would allow even
so that only works on commercial and mixed use properties. Anything with any residential density cannot go through Live Local unless it's got a mixed use or commercial component to the zoning.
Yeah.
So I guess this is more kind of my comment. This is a tough one. This really is, because I do feel like there was a comment made about it almost being an inadvertent or an oversight that this was zoned medium density or had a future land use of medium density. And I don't really believe that that would have been the case. Back in 2005, there were a lot of pushes for high density and there was a lot of opposition. And the fact that there was opposition launched against this, I think at that time it was intended to be medium density. And so I think the property owner has a pretty good argument if we were to request them to change the future land use. For a variety of reasons, this board opposed adding single family residential to the medium density tier. And I'm not going to get into all those, but that affects other neighborhoods and other parts of the county or the city. And so I'm reluctant to reopening that and, basically saying that we're going to start creating single family zoning districts inside of future land use. And this has the future land use that it has. And the request is for the smallest density for that land use. And so I think that we're really left with one of those two things, either saying that we're going to recommend against what we said just 2 weeks ago and say that now we want to allow single family zoning in medium tier future land use, or we have to approve the single family, two family. Unless, I feel like if they had to come back before us for site plan, it was single family, two family, a lot of the concerns can be, part of comments and things that we can, as a board, add as conditions for a site plan. That can't really be done with zoning, but I'm concerned that it may not come back to us for a site plan. So yeah, I'm definitely kind of torn on this one because, this is drawn out for a long time. I feel like, we do have a housing crisis. We do need more housing to be built. But at the same time, we don't want to do something that's not appropriate for this property.
No.
So what do you, where are we, we're just, this is board comments and board questions.
So the next one would be, does the city's staff have any closing arguments? Mr. Waters,
We don't have any, thanks.
you haven't said enough? Okay, does the applicant have any closing arguments?
Just one, and it's the same one, is that the minimum lot size answers your question. The drainage of the minimum lot size, that's what the cause is. So for the site plan, when we have to come back in and get permitting and do building permits and all that, everyone will have an opportunity to review that. And it's going to have to conform to all of those conditions.
The difference being that in a single family district, a lot means one house.
Right.
And in a single family, two family, a lot can mean two.
Absolutely,
And
but they have to be the same size.
Right, but your traffic is increased. Things like that are definitely increased from having.
Absolutely. And your point is correct in that.
Yeah, so that is the difference between the single family, two family. And what we're hearing is that while I agree, normally we would be able to address all this stuff at site plan, sounds like site plan may not come back to us at all and might be administrative. So this might be the only.
Yeah.
And that's
and
the struggle that we have.
Yeah, no, and it's true. So
Is it the intent that the 16 lots means 16 units?
at this point, yes, but I haven't. And the reason I'm saying that is because so much has changed on this property. So much has changed on this property over the last 4 years. You mentioned something that's super important. We have an extreme housing crisis right now. And that housing crisis is for the middle income people. And middle income people would not be able to afford a single family brand new home built on that property right now based on the tariffs and everything else that's going on. So if we're trying to solve that problem, then it might be that something that I would consider. If I'm not worried about that and the tariffs change and those things start to change and the housing prices start to reflect that, then we would go that route. We've looked at both, and that's a tough one. We didn't have tariffs 3 years ago. We didn't have all these issues. So, I mean, when we were coming off of COVID, when I looked at this in 2021, and we had an extreme issue at that point. So yes, it's a moving target, but the intent here is with the SFT of 14 is to move this along. It's 21 years. I've been under contract for 4 years. We just want to move it along. So that's my closing argument. That's the goals.
Okay. Do the affected parties have any closing arguments?
Very quickly.
Mhm.
I forgot who asked the question, but it was the perfect question to ask. Does this board, and Mr. Waters confirmed it, have the right to adopt SF4 tonight? The answer is yes. Just a rote reading of the code, the statute is the wrong way to go about making the decision tonight. If there's any scenario, situation, exception, which screams out to go perhaps a little outside the lines and adopt the SF4, even though it's inconsistent with some prior decision-making or prior discussions, this is the project, this is the parcel that you should do it on because of the topography, because of the need to have lower density. This is not two parcels that are even from a topographical standpoint. You can do it. Mr. Waters confirmed it, and that's what you should do.
Hi, Amy, 2032 Collier Avenue. When this applicant, the developer, first came to us, he proposed a 42 townhouse unit with the same exact zoning. And that townhouse development that he proposed fit within all the land use regulations, the setbacks, all the things. So there's no guarantee that he's not going to switch the site plan and bring that plan back that we have fought for many times. So for the assurance that what he's proposing is actually what we're going to get, I would request that you deny this and that he withdraw his application and come back with this zoning attached to a site plan. Because it sounds like if it's attached to a site plan, there's a lot more, restrictions, things that we can do rather than just putting on a blanket zoning. Because that is no guarantee that we're going to get what he says we're going to get. So thank you.
That's it.
Jason LaPiccolo, 2024 Collier Avenue. My biggest concern is that this becomes not as houses, but 32 rental properties. Because, he's made that point clear in the past that, this is going to be a rental community. And, my whole concern is that, most of us are homeowners that are just, this is what we can afford. And we don't want a rental community stuck in the middle of our neighborhood. Thank you.
Thank you. Yes, miss.
Sorry, guys.
I'm sorry.
Kathleen McGivern, 2121 Collier Avenue, within 400 feet affected party. So let's get back to where the rubber hits the road. You got two choices. I hope you make a good one, because I don't think, and maybe I'm wrong, it's my opinion, I don't think you're going to be getting back another site plan from these people. I think they're going to take the zoning and run. But that's just my opinion. So like I said, rubber hits the road. You got two choices. We're citizens, we're taxpayers. We've been fighting this time and time again since 2005. Enough.
Okay.
Actually, not sorry. No, my only thing is, like, if there is any possibility that it could change and become duplexes, then that's a total no-go, right? I mean, look, if you're going to do that, just make the whole neighborhood do that, right? I mean, I couldn't build a small addition on the front of my house because of all of the restrictions. And just really to see that parcel developed or have the potential, and I understand his intentions are not to do that at this time, but it's business decisions. And so if there's a possibility that it could become a duplex community or something like that, then that does totally derail the entire community. And so that, if it was just clear cut, yeah, this is going to be single family homes, and it sounds like it just cannot be clear cut. And to me, that's where, I think the neighborhood has to draw the line and say, yeah, if it was all single family homes, it's increasing the value of the community. And, we're having other homeowners in the neighborhood. That's from my side, and I can't speak to everybody, that from my side, that's a welcome addition. But for there to be a possibility that some little thing could change or some other people get involved, and now it's duplexes, triplexes, quadplexes on each parcel, that just blows everything up. So that's my closing.
Thank you. Okay. We will then close the public part of the meeting.
A little bit of edification. We went reviewing over the changes that you made. The conceptual site plan, as it was shown by Mr. Rayleigh, will, and this is predicted by the state, would have to come back before you as a site plan review because of the dedications for the utilities and some other things, and as well as the runoff, the dry retention and the
Right.
open space area.
It's like the county
That's
DRO.
predicated that it wouldn't fly in conflict with the plating piece. From our initial review on going back, the plating wouldn't come before you, but the plating would be based on a site plan that likely would have to come back before you all.
The county DRO does the same type of thing to get the street put in and all the drainage and everything else. It has curb cuts and everything else it has to have. Yeah. Okay. We're now closed for the public hearing. Board members, if you have anything to say, please say it now before we go into voting. Or would ask for a motion.
Well, I guess I have a little bit of discussion before motion. I think it's good. I'm leaning towards approval. And I know that's gonna upset a lot of folks, but I think that in general, if it comes back before us for site plan, when we're reviewing traffic, when we're reviewing setbacks, that's the appropriate time to really look at whether or not the site is being overbuilt, not necessarily in zoning. I still, if it's not, if I don't like the idea of changing the entire code, because that's what it would be. The other option of zoning it as single family means changing the code for the entire city, where single family becomes it does. It means that we would be, I'm sorry, I'm speaking.
Yes.
It means that we would be, it would mean that what we said last week, which is that medium density future land use and single family residential were not compatible. We would now need to make a recommendation that those would be compatible and that we add single family as a accepted future or accepted zoning district under future land use. And that changes things throughout the city. It does. And I can go, I'm not going to go into all the details, but if you can look at the meeting from last week where we talked about it for an hour. So that's where I'm kind of leaning right now. I don't know where you guys are on this. And I think we might be mixed on this one, and I'm definitely
Well, no, with the vote.
borderline.
So we have a motion?
I move to recommend approval of ordinance 2025-16, proposed zoning map amendment based on the data and analysis of the staff report and the testimony of public hearing.
Can I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
Vote passes. Thank you very much. Thank you for your testimony.
Really quick, board members, we do have the rest of the agenda. There's not really any other items to discuss, but we do have a department report. Wanted to let you all know this will be my last PCB meeting. I've accepted a position with the State Historic Preservation Office up in Des Moines, Iowa. So my last day with the city will be Halloween. I grew up in Des Moines, so it's going back home. I've missed the snow. I know it sounds crazy, but so I just, yeah. Thank you all for everyone. If the public could keep it quiet while we're still having our meeting, thank you so much. So thank you guys for your service. It's been really great to work with you all, and yeah, what a one to go out on together.
Give us your number. We'll keep calling you for other things.
I've invited her to tune into our YouTube station.
Yes, I'll be watching it from afar with the popcorn from now on.
I'll find the rest of the meeting here. So
Yeah, she was a good speaker.
can't find it. The first page. You got it? Okay, guys. So we've got any planning issues? No? We're good? There's always a
The
planning
only
issue.
issues, I mean, just really quickly, you will be seeing some comp plan amendments coming up in the next few months. The mobility plans, part 2, phase 1 has been generally completed. The open space recreation master plan, we've accepted the final draft of that. That'll be coming before you soon. The carbon neutrality element to the comp plan, which is a whole new element. We have a draft of that, including the data and analysis. You'll be seeing that in its coming months. As for larger projects, everybody's going to live local. So you won't be seeing any of those for a little while.
Yeah. A lot of that going on. Okay. Any other public comments? All right. Department reports,
Nothing else.
nothing else. All right, board member comments.
You can still change your mind.
They might give you more money.
She wants some snow.
Yeah,
Snow.
the snow. You can't beat the snow. All right, guys. Well, with this, we're adjourned. Thank you, Miss